Also, why Los Angeles? Why would anyone relocate to Los Angeles?
Isn't that like the you're
Yeah,
more prone to
Trump
get
County.
shit? Listen, come to my attention that you've been giving Toretti special favors and treatment.
How?
How?
Why are you-
How's
why-
anybody giving me any
I
special
tried.
treatment?
I was the only one that actually tried to actively get him fired
So why
You were
isn't
the
he
only
fired
one.
then?
because I didn't have legal grounds to fire him. We literally DNA sampled this asshole to try to put charges on him, and he was cleared of it.
Obviously, I just
Legally?
power
Why,
gamed it,
why would
of
we do
course.
anything illegally? The hell's a power gaming?
Oh, is this? Are we?
I
sorry,
guess we're
didn't
we're
realize.
role playing on the core
Okay.
server now.
I mean, we usually role play in the role play server.
What the hell is going on out there?
Can you guys stop, please, before we get our privileges taken away?
You can't. If
God.
Nike's is over there trying to run his Ferrari
it.
into the wall over there.
I mean,
would Nikes be the one that gets their
everybody
privileges
voted
taken away?
no to having him pass his final eval. When are we gonna just fire him?
I think that's it. I think the results would be the firing.
Like I said, I've been trying to fire him. I brought him to
You going
court,
solo?
and Buck,
You riding
you know,
with partners?
dismissed
Some
the
crazy
case
shit.
because Hobbit had a heart attack.
It's like a marathon.
And then, you know, I launched this internal affairs thing, and
Need someone to keep you awake.
because he was clear of that, so I just,
Yeah, we're going to
you know,
drive and
unless
shit,
someone
so-
brings something to me, I can't fire him.
Sunflower
We could
seeds.
reopen that if we really wanted to.
Ooh, I like
'cause,
What, his
Yeah.
asshole? We can reopen his ass?
Just-
So-
What the
Yeah,
Please.
because
fuck?
McGraw claimed that he pooped out all the DNA.
Sunflower seeds, got it.
What
You mean
the
you
Sunflower.
mean
What kind of
Sonia Summers?
Fucking frat house are you
Chris.
running, Bobby?
This is the shit
No,
I
no.
have to deal with.
What
Right
the hell?
now.
This is
That
part
you
of
have
the-
to deal with? Toretti.
It's not an
Yeah.
investigation. It's
It's
part
It's
of the
nothing compared
accountability.
with what we have to deal with having you on board of this
Listen,
police department.
This is
Okay.
all part of Francis'
Did
you-
chicken
Yeah, I
bucket
did.
head hours.
I
Okay.
didn't order
Chicken
I don't
bucket.
know what. I don't know what more you want me to do here.
Yeah, throwing mollies at.
Yeah.
Bobby sounds
Uh,
like he's using
So
your
he's the
regular
one
voice.
that's like, you know, got fucking
Really?
bicycle
Right now,
patrol.
and then
Yeah.
I
Like
think
he's
Yeah.
running a,
Yeah.
you know, daycare center.
I think
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
I was pretty busy with
Mm.
work.
Pretty much it.
No, I
Didn't
know,
really
I
get
know.
anything to
Crazy.
do.
We don't have any
Yeah.
meetings today, do we?
I'm glad you're here.
Not today. It was
Yeah,
Sunday.
Likewise.
Okay. Okay.
Fun one Sunday.
Fish sticks and hot dogs,
Yeah,
eh?
fun.
Probably do something with the task force.
Sunday,
But
Sunday.
they're probably not doing
Christ.
anything, so there's no point in having a meeting with them.
It's true.
The task force isn't doing anything?
Probably.
Here, I'll make room.
Hey,
Thought they were working hard.
Yeah.
Mullen, are you working on anything?
My stuff's winding
What
down
the
because of the murder
fuck?
cases are going to trial.
It's getting
For
kind of
dry,
weird, man.
scratchy eyes.
Did you get pictures and
strike
videos
where
of all the
I-
stash houses in the city and people walking in and out of them with Class 2 weapons in hand? Unmasked?
Not yet. I need to go back and review the VODs.
Well, instead, we have
Oh
installed
yeah, I meant to
CCTV
look.
cameras.
Is that actually an expectation now?
No, well, so part of something we're gonna do today, so that we can take it to a meeting that we have coming up, is coming up with some standards of stuff. I would like to get that kind of rolling, because I think that's fucking unrealistic as shit.
What?
I'm tired. I'm
gonna be
tired
pretty
of showing up
tricky to
to
get
court
that.
and
Well,
being
do
like,
we-
I don't remember this critical incident from a month ago, and then having everyone
so-
call me a liar because I remembered a tiny detail. It sucked.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, welcome back to training, everybody.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello.
Sorry,
Hey.
first and
Howdy.
foremost,
Okay.
my daydream world has been exceptionally busy, and as you can imagine, with coronavirus, it hasn't made it any better.
I bet.
Do you
Do you
have
have
toilet
any
paper?
advice?
I'm sorry.
Do you have,
Do you
toilet
have any
paper?
advice or
Do you
toilet
have-
paper?
So I don't have any toilet paper. The
Toilet
advice
paper.
I was given from our department was to stay 6 to 10 feet away from people, sneeze into the V of your arm, wash your hands constantly, use hand sanitizer as much as you can, and try not to touch people, which in my line of work is near impossible unless I'm gonna throw a
Wow.
pair of handcuffs at somebody and say, put these on yourself, please.
Damn. Okay.
/SC.
That's admin for you, right?
Wow. Listen, you're laughing, but if we ever get, you know, Red Dead RP,
Smile.
that's what we're gonna be doing.
So,
Think about it.
Or we're gonna be lassoing people.
Yeah, we're gonna be lassoing people.
Hell yeah.
That's gonna be
Fuck
fucking
yeah.
crazy. I don't know
Hell
what that's
yes.
gonna look like for
I can't wait.
anyone running a
Spread
sheriff's
it.
office.
You need to
yeah,
ask
just
them
spread
if
it.
they have
Probably.
lasso
Buzzerk,
What do you mean?
thank you so
Phrasing
much for the
gotta
tier
be the
1.
same.
This
Gang
virus
sign
thing
out
is
of the
just
lasso.
it's out of control, man.
Wait, that's
Coil-
the thing?
Coil is not coding that much, so no.
So I will be here as much as possible. Thankfully, we have Bobby and the rest of High Command who's doing exceptional work. I usually chime in when, you know, shit is hitting the fan and I'm just like, what the fuck? That's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could say is, like, I have noticed that I've had people come up and ask me questions about
My campus
things
closed down
that
for a
are
month.
in the
Yeah, a lot of schools are
SOPs,
closing down.
and it's
Fucking
not just
businesses, a bunch of
recruits
stuff.
or cadets or, you know, I pretty much
damn,
have
Shake, thank you so much for the
some
6 months,
SOPs
dude.
and aren't
So yeah, it's super
you know,
real where I
relaying
work
information that's
in the
in
Bay
SOP.
Area, man.
So
It's just
if you
you
guys
haven't
have
read the
questions,
news.
try to
There's
look at the
a bunch
SOPs
of
first before you
outbreaks
go
of
and
it.
ask questions
people
that have
getting
already been answered. You know what I mean?
Quarantine
kind
and
of,
stuff like that. And if we
irritating
get
having
any
to answer things
any,
that not only like people should know
scares
about,
of
or,
it, our department makes us
things that are already
automatically
written out, but
quarantine,
things
self quarantine
that,
at home, and all of
for
those
example, members
precautions.
of
We've had
command
one
could have
possible scare
changed
at my
at some point.
department.
That makes sense.
So that person's
Because,
getting tested.
We went over
Hopefully
the
it's
SOPs
nothing
with
but
everyone from command as well as high command. So pretty much
God
just do the
damn,
SOPs.
Andrews, you got a
Oh,
little
big ass
scary. Wild Drifter, thank you so much for the
Otherwise,
6
I mean,
months.
I don't know. I don't know what's been
But the
crazy
positive thing
past
about
2
it,
weeks.
or
I
the
feel
good
like
thing about it, is
besides all the DOJ stuff that's been going on, is there like
just
anything
being
people
healthy
wanted to
and
bring up that's been
you know, living a
odd
healthy
or
lifestyle.
you don't really know how to deal with, or meta
you're
changing?
more prone to just
you guys
being
have
able to fight
questions
it off.
about? It's usually what we do for the first like hour of this thing.
Just like a big old bug that you just gotta kick,
I mean,
you know?
not so much a question, but I've definitely noticed that things have sort of died down a bit. But then we still
In
have
Latvia,
those,
and we're in a state of
situations where
emergency,
it's
like
one
18
thing after
cases though.
another.
Yeah, I think the
Like,
United States
we
has
a
had
bank
about
truck robbery,
200
and
cases of
then
it,
Prison transport, during prison transport, power plant got hit,
and 20 deaths
I don't
from
know,
it.
an hour before that, the power plant got
Is
hit.
what we were told, or
So,
we had a presentation
I
last
think
week
in
on
terms
it.
of
We had
bank
some
trucks,
training
they've
on
died
it,
down a lot,
and
but with
just
the changes to
how to protect
thermite,
ourselves
everything
and
else
what
is
could
sort of
possibly
picking
happen
up.
if you do get
And
infected
then
and
once
stuff
people
like
sort of
that.
get into the swing of that, we're probably going to be in
And
that
the numbers
really
they were giving us
fast-paced
was about 200
environment
cases in the U.S., 20 deaths,
it's more
and
just,
the majority of the deaths, or actually all the deaths,
observation
were
that
people
I've
over
noticed, being on
like a
duty
certain age.
past couple
So
days.
elderly people are more prone to being deadly,
Class twos are
unfortunately,
back.
which sucks.
Yeah, they are.
Those
The
are
younger
great.
and more healthy you are, the more easy, or you know,
I think that's
more
the
prone you
biggest
are to be able
change
to
we've
fighting it
seen.
off.
Dealing with Dracos.
And 41 deaths. Okay.
At least in my experience, I don't
Being most
necessarily
affected, yep.
have a problem with the Dracos. To me, we can counter that.
Like 800
pretty
cases in
evenly.
Denmark, that would be the same as over
APs
50
from cars is what fucks us
50,000
hard.
in the U.S.
No, those are easy clappers, dude. Just
All
swerve.
right.
Yeah, I think I've seized.
You want to get started, Bobby? You want to wait a little bit longer, see if more people show up, or what?
What for like the actual train? I was just giving floor to anyone that wanted to bring anything up.
Yeah.
I guess if it's okay, because I've been spending a lot of time out in the county lately, just because I'm not so big on the crazy action of the city. Does anyone have a problem with? Has anyone? I know I've been doing that a lot during the normal daytime hours. If anyone has a problem with it, I'm okay if you just reach out to me and say, hey, can you come down to the city and help us deal with all this shit? Because I just prefer
Let me
not to
see
have to
if I
deal with that
can
a lot.
get-
I prefer doing all the RP that's up there, especially giving some attention to those guys, because there's a lot of people that hang out
What are
in
you
Sandy
doing,
and Harmony.
Discord?
A lot of people, and I've been getting to know them a lot more and being able to give them some RP. But if y'all feel like you need me back down there, just bump me on the radio. Hey, can you come back to the city for a bit? I'm okay with that.
I think as long as you're picking up our pieces when we alpha, that's the main thing from my end at least.
See if I can get one of
I've
these
seen those videos and things like that
receptionists that is going to be doing some.
It's something I've tried doing in the past,
dispatch in
with, like
here.
just speed traps on the highway, and being in Sandy. Unfortunately, the one day I was like, you know what? Things are picking up in Sandy, Polito. I'm gonna patrol there. 10 minutes into my shift, I got shot during a traffic stop, and then the person ended up getting 5150. So
Oh yeah, that was dramatic.
yeah. So it was like one
Pancakes?
of those moments.
No,
where
not
I don't know that I don't expect it to
Face.
happen again.
There's
But,
another
you know,
one.
my luck.
I added a second one.
Yeah, it has. I haven't been shot on a traffic stop yet in the last month. I
Shut
got
up.
tased once in the
Fuck
city
yeah.
because I came out of my comfort zone and went
In
downtown
the face.
and did a traffic
Oh,
stop.
yeah.
But in the county, I haven't been shot at all.
You live in
But
San Mo?
it's actually
San
they're
Mo.
usually pretty cooperative out there.
But yeah, so work has been just
Gotcha.
pretty,
Winchester, I
pretty
think your
killer.
services are
There's
needed
been
on
a
Grove
decline in
Street.
officers. A lot of officers are leaving my department and going
No, that's
elsewhere for various political reasons and just the amount of workload on
I just have something to
the
bring up.
cops that have remained is increasing, along
we
with
can try
different
and
changes in
keep the
policies, stuff like that. It
consistency
just makes their
of
job
SOPs between
harder.
all the shifts.
So work has
because
been
that
tough,
seems to be an
to
issue coming into
say the
whatever
least.
my shift
And
is. Like
I needed a
late
slight break from here
AU,
too,
where I arrest people that would normally play on other
because you know sometimes the
shifts,
stuff gets
and
to you, and
they're either expecting
dealing
time
with it
off,
at work and then coming here and
or
dealing
if
with
I play in a
other
shift that's not
craziness is
mine,
just
like
not
EU, like
mentally
NA, for
healthy. So I've
example.
been
Like the other week,
whatever free time I had, I
had
would
two people
put it to
literally
other
come up
games
me and
or
say,
just
so how much time are we giving
other
out? As if
hobbies of
that's what we're
mine.
supposed to do.
Started back up
There's
on working
also
on my
an
car.
officer
So that's
that
fun.
was pulled by a cadet, which was resolved.
I ordered
But either
my-
way, it was
my,
resolved that,
my
they
hood, my
were
GT
instructed to
500
give
style
off
hood.
time if there's no DLC available. So I don't know where the inconsistency is. I don't know if they're just doing it
Sorry, I'm listening
and
in
we
now.
just aren't finding it out, or whatever the case
Who
is.
has said that? Because I've squashed that so many times, and it's been an announcement. It's been I don't know how else we need to kill that.
Re-announced and everything.
But it was resolved. Francis told Davenport, and we were like, "That's Francis. Don't listen to him. He's a cadet." you're an
Francis said
officer."
to do that.
No. What he
Yeah.
actually said to Davenport was, if the numbers go red on the MDT, you half it.
So it was a
So,
joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Davenport believed him. I don't know why, but you know, either way, it's been
Yeah.
resolved.
But
Okay,
by the
so-
way, aside from that situation, though, it just seems that it's a constant thing that gets brought up to me, and I'm just hoping that the sergeants or senior officers or whoever's doing it or whoever sees it addresses it, because we need to be consistent on that, because otherwise we all just look dumb and
Officer
send
Andrews!
complaints
Officer
and all types of
Andrews!
shit, so.
Can we go on a ride along?
Minacho, thank you so
yeah,
much for the 2 months,
I've
dude. I
actually,
appreciate it, my man.
Experienced it where people are expecting that time off or higher than 20%. And then when they don't get it, they start requesting like a senior officer or sergeant to get it approved, when really across the board it should be 20% max. DOC, we've announced many, many times, regardless of whether or not they're available, does not change the time or the fine. And
just
people
keep-
still keep
keep
pushing
doing
for
that.
it because unfortunately people are giving into it, and because it's expected at certain times and not others, they still try to push for it with the expectation, well, it happened before, so I want it to happen again.
Well, this is what we're probably gonna have to do with that. If it's still happening, then we're gonna have to add it to the list of no-nos and some sort of repercussion to it if it's caught being done.
Well, I think one of the issues is a lot of people are trying to justify it by giving time served in situations. And while we have made it clear that, you know, we can go above the 20% in very limited circumstances where people are waiting for a very long time, I think people are taking that as these people have been in holding for 15 minutes while, you know, they began questioning whether or not we had the evidence and had to go back to the scene and then go back to process them, and are then demanding that they get all of that time off. Some people are giving into that.
Okay, well, we can't give in to that.
There's like
I agree.
there's like very few things where that's like even relevant, and that's things that are outside the control of the people that are in custody. So like they're in the cell, and all of a sudden PD gets attacked, and we have to go out and like fight outside of mission row for 30 minutes. And then you might, you know, factor that in. But them asking for a lawyer or like pillbox and waiting around for like that's not our issue at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
And I think we've been pretty clear on that. So if there's people that just, you know, putting in someone for like way reduced time, just I guess send us
Thready
an
doing?
email, I guess some character
I
or
feel like
whatever. 'cause
Trady has
I haven't
ADHD.
seen him myself.
He's just
Like,
every time we have these
You know, if there's
meetings, he's
people
always
doing
like
it,
twitching,
there's
he's
nothing
always
we can
dancing.
do if we
He's
don't
fucking doing this.
Officer
aren't aware of it. You know
It's
what
like,
I mean?
why?
Andrews!
Mhm.
Can we go doing that
commanding
right along.
officers.
Chiller
should
Dirk, thank you
know
so
that
much
you
for the
have been.
2 months,
Like you wrote,
dude.
posted
I'm
yourself.
doing all right,
in
man. How you
Discord
doing?
A while back, exactly what the
Motherfucker can't stay
limitations are
still.
and what we should be doing.
gonna
There's no
shoot him in a
DOC
second.
rule. We haven't had like a DOC thing for a while, especially since we've recruited more people for DOC since then. So none of that should be relevant. Just let us know that this is happening. We can deal with it from there. But
On the DOC
yeah.
topic, real quick, would you guys mind if DOC starts coming to these trainings?
I don't mind because
I wouldn't mind at all.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Some of them could potentially be recruits.
Mm-hmm.
Vale's
All
been
right,
putting
I think in the
fucking work.
future, so we can get their tactics squared away too, we're gonna start incorporating them in here.
Are you guys? I don't know. Last night I was with Coil, and I don't know if you know, but they changed the way jail works. I guess a little bit. Times are reduced a lot more. So we gave somebody an 80-something full sentence. It was 80-something months, and he was out in about 25 minutes.
Is another reason we should not reduce beyond the 20.
Yeah.
So that's brand new. He told me to make sure to give him the full time and for him to tell us how long it took him, because it was kind of like a
I'll put out an announcement
Yeah,
after
that's right.
this.
The patch yesterday.
Full time.
The patch yesterday they put in so they have items or something that severely reduce their time now. So honestly, we shouldn't be reducing time at all anymore.
The only
If it was just
exception, in
me.
my opinion, to like reducing time, again, is those severe circumstances, or if the arresting officer's game crashed or the person being processed, game crashed. It's really no one's fault. The server goes down or something to that extent. Like, I don't think anyone should be held accountable for those situations.
Right.
But aside from those, like, super limited circumstances, like, it should rarely happen is the thing.
Yeah, things that are out of everyone's control. Like I had to
Yep.
try and get a raid warrant approved, so I had to wait for the judge to get in the server, then the DA to get in the server, then to write it, and he was just sitting there. So I gave him time off for that.
yeah, I think most of us are on the same page here.
Right.
It seems like this is happening with a few officers that, for whatever reason, feel like they have to give you leniency to people or their friends or whatever the case is. Just like I said, just let us know. And we
I think
can
a
figure it
good
out.
way to track it is what I've done for literally ever is I put the max time and fine that they get, and then in parentheses I put somewhere, what they actually got, whether I just say 10% reduction, 20% reduction, or whatever I gave them for that situation. That's what I've been doing. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't make that like a requirement, but that's a good way to track people for sure if they're putting that stuff in.
I do have a bit of a concern with DOC though. I know that a lot of people have joined DOC. Unfortunately, we rarely ever have more than one DOC around. What happens is we send in 4 gang members, and they swarm the DOC member, immediately take their shit, and then we're dealing with them 5 minutes after we sent them off. And it's in, it's not really a jailbreak, but they steal the weapons. We have to respond and not be able to respond to anything else during that time.
Should DOC even have lethal weapons? Like, I don't even know why they have shotguns.
It's not the shotgun; it's the goddamn beanbag shotgun.
But if they
That's-
didn't
that's
have
a
a
non-
regular
that's a
shotgun, the
non-lethal, though.
beanbag wouldn't be as big an issue.
I hate that stupid thing.
Cody, jump.
Well, I mean, we're only supposed to respond when DOC asks us to, which is usually like when their lethal gets
when they
stolen.
10,
right?
13. Is that
That's
still
the thing, it
happening
happened.
often?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately.
Well,
Yeah.
they
Is there a
Olaf would
good
probably
reason
sometimes.
for it happening, or is this just because I feel like doing
it
it?
was
Yes.
just, I think it was jailbreak season last week.
So I've asked them
Riot
to
season,
like,
sorry,
I've
riot
asked them to
season.
report stuff like that. If there's like no actual good reason, if like somebody's getting sent up there for like 20 minutes and they just want to go cause some bullshit, then
Well, it rarely happens like that. Typically, what'll happen is there'll be a gang war. 4 members of one gang will go down, or let's say 2 and 2. Then they all get sent to prison at the same time, and they just swarm the DOC member because there's typically only one, and they're heavily outnumbered. I've seen Vale try to do her best with like upwards of 8 to 10 inmates, but like as a single person in DOC, that's very hard to control.
yeah.
I don't really know the logic behind that, because they'll be like, oh, there's no DOC for us to interact with. Give us time off. But when there is a DOC to interact
They
with,
take
they
advantage
just
of it.
beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the payoff? What's the return?
Can I? Well, the thing is, I think the issue, or not the issue, but the reason people are so willing to do it is because there are no consequences associated with doing it. Like, as officers, we've sort of been told like it's DOC's jurisdiction essentially to deal with those people and
I know where you're
increase the release
going.
time.
I'll revisit it with Coil, but he's asked that we don't add anything. It's
Gotcha.
supposed to be meant for as fun, but it is at the point where it's just being taken advantage of. If it's still going on.
Olaf, you had your hand up for a bit and you've been DOC for a while. You want to comment on it?
Me and Lumi or Katarina have. Yeah, the thing is, like, it goes in periods, and recently there's been almost non-stop rioting.
Yeah.
And
People want to
think
do it for
Angel
RP and get to shoot cops and shit like
yeah,
that, but I mean, you got to remember the DOC are standing up there for a while. They want their interaction, and then that's not very fun interaction for them. There's like no point in having DOC if that's all they're being used for.
In this case,
It's supposed to be, you know, for somebody that so you can interact with in the prison, not for you just to go beat up on and take their shit and then start another fucking fight with the cops. Like that's not fun.
usually PD doesn't have to respond.
You sure? That's not fun. They don't like that shit.
Eventually get a solution, because like when a prisoner has taken a lethal, you know, you kind of have to see it as a riot.
What's up, real God scope?
I don't know if you have
But I think the problem isn't the lethal, it's that beanbag shotgun. You get stun locked.
Well,
it's
like,
the combo.
the last time it happened,
DOC flex on them, and I mean,
like 10
okay.
cops on duty, 8 of them respond.
Again, this is a problem in the server. Like an unarmed person is going to talk shit and try to jack a person that has a gun. Just because it mechanically you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they're doing.
Yeah, my point is though that if they don't have any lethal, technically PD wouldn't always need to respond. Even if they warlord, if they beat the shit out of each other, if it's supposed to have no punishment, it's better if it's handled internally with the prison and DOC, in my opinion.
I feel like because to your point, because the lethal is being taken, that's why we have to respond.
Yeah.
But I feel like the better play is to have us respond based on the DOC's
Have his IRL, and yeah, that's exactly.
I mean, beat up,
it's
and they're like, okay, this is just all this
it's
is. Like,
it's
I don't
just
need
a
cops
constant
here.
issue
But if
of
it's
like
the
there's no.
riot has like RP elements.
You're supposed to role play a
and we
certain
need the
level of
cops to
respect
respond,
for
or, you know,
for
we
higher
can show up, and
authority.
it's not
You
just like
shouldn't
a
just act
PvP
like
fest, you know?
this is just another person
Because
that
we
you're
go from,
interacting
like,
with.
you know,
right? You're in
pressing
prison.
these
You
people
are stripped
from, like, a
down.
bank
You don't
truck
have
to them
anything
going
on
to
you.
prison, to us having, you know,
prison
part
guard
two
with
electric
a shotgun
boogaloo,
that is supposed to hurt
PvP
you.
inside the prison.
You're not supposed to be able
And,
to easily judo
I mean, that
chop
could
them
be
in the
fun,
back of the
but
head and
most of
just
the
take their
city's on
shit.
fire
Like
during,
there's a
3
certain
hour
level
process
of
that we have to do
role
and
play
stuff.
that you have to do there to hold yourself back.
Sorry.
I was just
Be a
saying
little
it-
bit
I think it'd
scared.
be
Somebody
better
like
if DOC,
Bovice doing that?
has us
Okay,
come
that makes
down
sense.
and the
Bovice
reason
knows the
isn't
ins and outs of the
arbitrary,
prison,
or-
and he knows the
or
prison
they took
guards.
the,
He
you
knows
know, the lethal.
what buttons to push.
Just
Blah
DOC
blah
can
blah.
get a
But
chance
some
to say, hey,
motherfucker that just
this is like
this
we
just
actually need
robbed the
help
corner
down here.
store and is in there
Not, hey,
for
they took
20
my
minutes and is
pistol,
just
I
like,
need
this seems
everyone here
fun.
now, you know?
It's stupid.
True.
Are you guys still? Is it still the same policy where? Oh shit! Hang on. Sorry, my door's ringing. I'll be back. I apologize.
Right in the
No
good
problem.
point too, huh?
Wow, dude, nice. No, these whole park is more important than it.
Way to leave us hanging.
Remove the DOC
I would
completely.
say
I mean,
I
that's
would
where it's getting to the point because
myself a lot, and what I would do
the
is
only
I
thing
would
they're
think of,
serving a
like,
purpose
fun
is
games.
fucking
So,
loot bags.
like categories was really popular. Trivia was really popular. FFA Fight Night, that was popular.
God
So I
damn,
would
man.
do,
Droplet
like,
group, thank you so much for the 12 months, dude.
one-on-one activities and like group activities too for like bigger groups, and that seemed to keep
Like
the
Bobby
rioting
was,
down, at least when
Moral
I
is
was
right.
there. They like to have
It's
fun. They really
why
like the
add
Trivias, that was
more
most popular.
DOC
I mean, alternatively, I've seen people just go in
and
there,
use that as an excuse for
run
getting
after the
time
first
reduced
DOC
when
that's
all they're
in there,
used for
beat the
is
shit out
just
of him,
fucking
steal
beating them
from
up.
and then just run away. So
Yeah.
I mean, I
yeah.
appreciate that you're trying to like make them play like Snake IO, but you know, if they're just gonna beat the shit out of you and run away, that's what they're gonna do. There's not really gonna be like an interaction thing happening there.
Yeah, that's more of a
It's just
culture
we
thing.
just
that
don't
we-
need to we just don't need to respond to it every single time it happens. You know.
Yeah, it's usually when like the main members of a gang show up, like the Lean Boys. If that group shows up, they'll usually do it. They usually riot, or if like Eugene is there, there's probably going to be a riot.
But they
Doesn't
can't
matter
be
who's there
looted.
with them. If Eugene is there,
Uh,
especially if SBS Angels are with him, yeah, they're going to riot. Just be ready. Throw your shit in the locker and just don't have anything on you. That's what I did. Worked out well.
Are
yeah,
we still
we
running
shouldn't
with
have to
the-
do that.
True, but it was necessary. No, I was alone.
There's like
during
I mean, there's like a riot mechanic that's in the prison. You know, for when they're actually trying to jailbreak.
Yeah, we haven't seen that anymore. It's unfortunate because of all these prison transport attacks. It's just basically taken over for us, so they don't have to go and do the power plant.
Prison riots? I mean,
Are we still running
yes.
a policy where if they down all the cops in DOC, then they go free? Because that might be part of why why it's
No,
happening. So
No.
I mean, we had like a really
Coil.
awkward thing with Coil like last week. At least it was awkward for us. It was like they like gunned us down and then they put us in a pile, and then it was like, all right,
penalties. And that's I think is what it's
their
going to come
time's
to.
up. So they just kind of walked out, and Coil rezzed us, and then we walked out. But as far as like them negotiating, like it doesn't make any sense because there's literally built-in mechanics for them to escape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
But like,
I have no idea where there's a room sort of old armory with a couple of nightsticks, maybe a worn shotgun.
So
they can
I
break
don't
into,
think
you have
there's
to
any
collect the
like
items,
value in
etc.,
really
and then they
breaking
won't rob
people
the
out unless
DOC.
they're like in max
Is
sec.
DOC
Like
class
last
as
time
an
they did it was
officer?
because a bunch of lifers were
No,
trying to get out.
or
Right?
DOC?
But people
Yeah,
aren't
it
gonna
was,
try to break out over 30 months. Like no one's gonna do that in there.
Yeah, the
So-
big one with Chengeng was the Bobai, Iroquois skin. There's I think Chastity was in there. Winsong was still awaiting trial. Eugene was there, and
Is there going to be a parole
Wayne
system?
Vegas
We
was
had one in the
there,
works a
and,
while ago. It was supposed to be incorporated
Chengeng,
in
like, loaded
MDT.
up
It
that,
didn't work, so
waste
that's
management
just been
truck
put on the
with
back
weapons
burner.
and provisions, and like threw it to the.
But again,
the
like
gate
making
to,
DOC be correction officers would
arming the
essentially be making them
prisoners, you know?
cops because they'd be
So that
responding
was the one where the
to
lifers were
wherever the
basically gonna
person
steal at
is
large.
in the city, and then they're just going to get into shit. So they're going to be chasing people down,
Yeah,
they're going to
I
be
mean, I'm just saying, I
handcuffing
don't think
people,
we're gonna see,
arresting
like,
people, all the same
those
shit.
types of jailbreaks unless
So
someone's
it's
going for
really
life.
an unnecessary thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because like the prison, I feel like the prison sentence right now are so extremely lenient, which is why the problem of giving people half off for like no reason is even more problematic. And now that I guess you're saying there's a mechanic inside to even reduce
So
your
like
time.
people went
further, I
back
just
to the
don't-
judge
you know what I mean?
to
Like,
work on the
times are
parole.
Yeah,
so-
if you-
A parole
If you look at the patch
system is
notes,
fine,
yesterday,
but
they put
having
in apparently
DOC be
implemented
parole
items that severely
officers,
reduce your time in prison.
we'll see.
It's about half.
We'll see.
But it was not.
But I feel like it would again take away from
Now they do more. They actually
from
work
what police
and
have to do.
use a lot more time. So it's all the items like slushies and all the things that they can find in the prison, basically.
Jesus.
Cool.
Sweet.
Things that we're not supposed to know about, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's not really our job, I guess, to figure out what the time reduction should be. You know, like
Mhm.
our job is just to read the penal code and say, okay, this is shooting a cop is worth 5 months. Here you go. Not like, oh, you were down here waiting for me to figure this out. Here's 15 months out. That's a
We
little
start a
ridiculous.
list of things that we
Uh,
should.
Anyway, okay, is that it? Is there
I
other
think so.
stuff?
I have one other something on that topic real quick. 5 minutes, maybe. Just a reminder for everyone who puts in evidence. Whenever you're entering in, we have a new system in place because the civilian reports and the criminal reports will overlap. So if you have a criminal report and you're stowing away the class 1 firearm or class 2 firearms, etc., that you seized from a person, make sure you put 1 dot before the report number. I'm going through and I'm constantly checking backlog reports, and I'm still finding people who are putting them in without the 1 dot or the 2 dot or whatever. And it's not hugely bad right now, but we will eventually.
Do they
come
want
to a
more
where
jail time?
civilian
No.
reports
Well,
numbers overlap
if they're
with
going to do
criminal
these
report
riots,
numbers,
then
and that's when things can start to get hazy. So we just
I think the
wanna make sure we get
repercussion is
in
going to
this habit of
be
putting in the 1 dot and then
extended
the report number in them.
prison time and then like lockdown in your cell.
Anyone have any questions about how that system works at all, since we're all here?
You're talking about the new evidence.
If
locker
PD gets
system.
more, no, that's
Yeah,
I
the
mean
new
that's
slash
DOC
evidence
would be
locker
essentially
system.
adding that
So
on.
basically, anytime you take contraband off a prisoner and you process them and send them off to prison, once you've generated that report number for their criminal case, you can just use that report number to slash evidence and then enter in 1 dot and then
Just
that
remove
report
DOC because
number,
nobody
and
will
then
do
put
anything at all?
everything you seized in there. You
Then
don't have to leave anything
You
out
and yourself,
anymore
you're
because we
saying that
basically have
DOC is
infinite
only there
storage
for them
in
just
regards
to
and
fuck up.
it's
That doesn't
all separated out.
that doesn't make any
based on
sense.
report
Why would
number.
we need to
So
remove
they
DOC?
have 30 days to appeal anything. If something comes up 30 days later, we have literally all of the evidence that was seized from them still handy
so
and ready to go.
You're
in its
saying
exact
that the
original
reason
format.
for the DOC
So it leaves us a
and
lot more
prison
prepared. We
is
can also
for
go back and look
prisoner
through old
to go in there
reports
and attack
and
DOC
look
every
at the
time.
handguns and things like that to trace
So
back
if we
what was seized from people and see
RP
if
with
those
them,
guns
exactly.
and things like
So
that were used in
beating
other
the shit out of them and
cases
taking their stuff
as
is
we
our
progress
roleplay?
forward. So it's pretty important for us that y'all are doing it, but I just want to make sure everyone knows how that system works and everything right now.
You could still beat the prisoner up, but just know that the repercussion is you will be in jail longer and
Cool, we all good on it?
be behind bars longer.
One, but
it is
you
two.
just put
Is
two.
though
So what's
because
the difference
DOC
between the
let
numbers?
that happen.
2
DOC
is
doesn't
for
let that
civilian,
happen.
1 is for arrest.
Right. So say you go to a scene and there's a gun laying on the ground and we find a dead.
Do you
know,
want
an
me to
injured
join?
person next to it.
Maybe on the
You know
next
what
one.
happens
This
with some of our
one.
serial
This one's
killers-
fine.
Serial killer cases.
Next one,
we find
KF.
evidence
Thank you
laying
though.
around on the ground, like actual physical items, and but
Mhm.
we don't have a person that we can
DOC
process.
actually
we don't have a
let
suspect
that
in custody,
happen. They-
and a report
okay.
is filed.
I've had many
then
conversations
you generate
with
that
them.
report.
They don't
and
want it
we'll
to
do
happen.
2 dot, and
It's
then that
not
report
role play
number,
just to walk
and
up behind
that
them
will
or
tell
just to
us that
come
it's
into
part of a
prison
civ-
and beat
a
them and
part
take
of a
their weapons.
civilian
There's
report,
no
where a
role play
report was
behind
made,
that.
but no one
It's
was arrested.
shitty.
So we can keep track of evidence as the case progresses.
There's other role play you can do aside doing that.
Gotcha. I mean, either way, people should be putting pictures in any way, even if there's like not a report. You know,
Just
or
because it
evidence
gets
locker
let
being
happen doesn't
used
mean
to,
there's that they have some
place the
certain
physical
feelings
evidence
behind
inside
it. Because nobody
Right.
wants to be that
Yeah, I mean,
person
put
that
your
combats
pictures and
that
stuff in the
because of
report, but actual
unfortunately
physical
Twitch
evidence
chat.
recovered in the game, you use the evidence system to store that so that we can easily recover them.
The TLDR is the trash locker essentially should not be used, like, ever. Take something off a person.
Yeah, a guy permered
into
because of
the
it.
evidence
One
locker
of the
for that
best
report.
DOCs we
Pretty
had.
Simple.
It's shitty.
It's in
We
the
shouldn't be doing it.
If you wanna read it, it's like you don't have to memorize it.
Mhm.
It's been posted by Metzger.
Yeah.
March 4th. Yep. PD
Yep,
announcements.
and it's even handy. Like if you know, I'm guilty of this. I
If your
do
only
this all the
creative
time,
chance is to
where
get
I
beaten up
accidentally
another
take
RPer to
someone's ID
content, then
or
maybe you're
something
not really a
not
RPer. Yeah.
illegal that they should have had, and then send them off, and I'm like, well, fuck, I forgot to give it back to them. Go ahead and put it in that evidence locker.
He was sick of getting. He's
under their
expressed
case
that to me
number, and
many
if they come
times. And there's
back and be
honestly,
like, hey,
I would tell him, hey, tell me, and
the
I can.
officer
We
I
could
had took
we could
this
try to
stuff.
message the person that's
Well,
doing
any
it.
officer can take
But
that,
it
they
is the
can just go to the
same
evidence
people that
locker,
do it.
do the
Jump
evidence
into prison.
one
It's just
dot,
like
and
a
then their last
fucking
report number
clockwork.
when they got arrested
Come
for
in
it,
prison, beat up the
and
guard,
recover
take
those
the shit,
items, so we
start
don't have
another
to do
war
a
with
whole,
PD,
hey,
get downed, or
officer
win that, or
308,
whatever.
457.
It's not fun.
We gotta go
You know,
find this
people
guy's
express
ID,
that
things like that.
prison
Just
was
have it all
boring once they're
together, ready to
given
go.
something to make it
It
more fun and
streamlines
another
a whole
person to
bunch of
interact
processes.
with. They just take
True,
advantage
but
of it, and
make
it's just
sure
like,
you
okay,
do that. Yeah, just make sure you do it
this
from a
is
place
stupid.
that makes sense to roleplay. Don't just pull it out of your butt.
Obviously,
if you run into someone in Sandy Shores, because we don't want to get held up by someone in Polito and they suddenly want evidence from a case 2 weeks ago, and they're like, I know you can do it because some other guy did it.
Low-key,
It's like,
high-key.
we
I
wanna
don't
get
know.
in
That's
territory.
that probably threw another positive
So
for him ending
I
that
have to get
character's
going, but
career.
in
I mean,
regards to that, just one last thing. Civilian reports.
had this
MDT,
not been an
still
issue, I'm
bug,
sure you
still
would have kept the
duplicate
character
civilian
around and still
reports.
played DLC,
Delete
which
the
would have been fine.
most recent one. So you'll have an original, make an edit. When you submit it, it creates a duplicate. To make sure that the report or incident number doesn't change, you want to delete the most recent one because the original one still gets edited. Otherwise, we're going to have evidence
His
being
spam
thrown into
punched me
different
while
lockers
telling me
because
he was
every
going
time
to
it
force
submits
me
a
to
new one, it
marry him.
increases the report ID
He
by
gave me
1.
10 kids a few days back. Fuck yeah, that guy needs to get banned. Whoever that was.
100% good point.
How
Alright,
many
I
people are
gotta
going to
go.
the
Wait, wait.
race?
Real quick,
I am.
I have to go to help.
Okay. Anyone else? Cool.
All right. Real quick, before I leave, also the MDT. What was the chain to make suggestions or whatever for that? I talked to High Command and they talked to Medi or that. What was that again?
Last time it was forwarded to a sergeant.
Right.
Okay.
Just give ideas, whatever. Just someone from command.
All right.
And they have they're supposed to be using external site to list recommendations and ideas, things of that nature. So if they aren't, that's a different issue. But just someone from
Send in
command.
Soze. I mean, Coil shouldn't be the
Anyway, guys.
answer to how people should act. They
Bye.
should just act the same, and it's just quite annoying.
Okay, bye.
It is quite annoying.
Sure.
So
yeah.
we shouldn't have to add rules and
hopefully once
regulations. I
things
say this
will
like
be
every time we
fixed,
talk about stuff like this. Like
in
we shouldn't have to add
the next 24 hours.
rules and regulations to shit
Hell yes.
in order to enforce people to act
Hopefully.
properly.
Sweet.
I'm
What
just
about
waiting-
you were working on MDT, right?
Just fucking annoying.
Working on that.
I just fixed the license shit today, so I'm not.
Oh,
Was
really
they actually
working
RP?
on it.
What do you think these guys?
I got you.
These
Is everyone
guys
gonna
that,
be
that
restarting at
become
0
DOC.
when that
Let's take
happens?
Kath for instance.
So
Will try their
I'm not
darndest to
sure
do
how
whatever they
managed
can to
fuck
make it
up,
fun
but I
interaction,
just
a fun
followed
interaction
this
for
the
both.
first 21 days.
A
and
lot
then
of these guys, they
accumulate
want to
the
move
points.
up.
That's it.
They want to, become cops. So they're gonna go in there and
Surely it
try.
must have been
I
way
mean,
more complicated.
it's
Surely.
just zero effort to just fuck them up
Yeah.
and then just
I
take their
don't
shit.
know.
It's zero.
I don't care.
There's
It's
nothing.
fixed
I
on
mean,
my end. I just
Geez,
need
how hard
those
is it
push
to
it, and
just,
when
I don't know, act like a
pushes
pansy
it,
around
it
them for a
should
little
be
bit while you're in
allowed
prison?
straight away.
Actually be
There's
scared.
No need to do anything, and basically
Just
it's
to
even gonna
act
be
how you would
accurate.
act. Just feel like,
So
just think, how would you go watch some fucking prison
what I'm
videos
saying
on
is that if someone
on
did
YouTube and just see how
too
people
many
act when they are
infractions the
around
past
guards in
21
there.
days, it's gonna show accurately after it's live.
It's just not that hard.
But I mean, I guess that's an
Actually
issue
have some
because
fear
we
when you're
haven't really
interacting
enforced
with
it
like law
earlier, but,
enforcement.
hey,
So you're saying so some people could already have lost their license who just wouldn't know it until this update?
Yes, I mean some people do have like 150 points, but
Really not
what
that
I'm
hard.
saying is that if they have accumulated,
Not everybody
I
needs to
don't
be
know,
a hard
what's
ass.
the legal
It's
limit
just
for driving
not necessary.
license? I can't remember.
21.
I think you're
21
forgetting it's
once
not
they hit 21 points, they
RP,
lose their license. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
RP comes
Okay,
with a
so
sense of immersion. It
basically
is
if someone
immersion
has
breaking
accumulated more
that
than
this keeps
21 points
happening.
in the last 21 days.
RP has some
then
sort of
that will
realism, which is
show
why it
accurately
captures
after
the
it's
attention
live.
of a bunch of people.
I mean, if they have more than 21 points, just check if they have removed a driver's
So
license
that
on
doesn't
their
make any
criminal
sense.
charges or
Remember that
not.
it's RP and it's not RL. Yes,
If
but
they do,
roleplay does
then
have some sense
we
of
know
realism
that
to it,
someone
right?
put it in recently and they shouldn't be driving.
I mean, there's no way I don't think anyone was tracking any of that.
I don't think anyone was. We still can't search by CID on MDT, right? That's that part's still
I mean,
broke?
it's random, but not consistently. You can't.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Video bite, you're hitting it
tell,
right on the
I'm
head.
not sure. Does command want to know when when
You're
it's
hitting it
live, or
right
should I
on the
just
head.
Tell you guys it's live.
No,
I
let
don't
us know when it's live so we can actually, everyone knows. Everyone's on
Realism
the
when you
same
have
page
coil.
when
That's
make an
coil.
announcement about it.
Why should everybody else
Yeah.
suffer because of
I'll
coil?
just write it somewhere and tag
That's
you guys.
one
in, that's
person.
it.
Let that one person do whatever you
Or
want.
just
Easy is
you.
it to fix the ID numbers?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
I mean, in case they get like reset again, so we're not over here stuck like recording people's stuff. All the
I mean,
time.
this shouldn't affect CID numbers, right?
The
This,
crims as well,
update.
because they most likely think it's
This is
fine at the
strictly
moment.
license.
What I'm asking is a separate thing.
Yeah.
I have no answer. I've
Doesn't make
literally only
sense.
looked at
Make any
license
sense for
points and
someone
that
like
made
Mr.
me wanna
Chang or
cry.
CG Lee Boys to just be scared of DS to look up Boyvis, for example. Why wouldn't Mr. Chang or CG?
All right,
I mean,
sweet.
so with that
Let's
example, then they
let's do
shouldn't. They
some
fear nothing.
training. Who are our crims this
They
week,
fear
guys?
nothing. So
Who's a
nobody
real
can
piece of
touch
shit?
them. Nobody can.
Already.
Yeah, he is a piece of shit.
Really?
I already got to beat the shit out of Toretti this week.
Wait, what are we doing?
So I'm
Wait.
pretty satisfied.
We're already done talking about everything.
Yeah,
one
we're
thing-
good.
One more
Oh.
thing I want to bring up.
Nope.
This is
We're not
something
done talking
that
about everything. We still need to do the brainstorming on stuff and.
Just something I want to bring up. We could talk about it more in command chat, but we needed to figure out something with there being like 6 FTOs on duty and every single one of them shirking off cadets, and then another cadet just comes along and then like they all clamor to pick up one of them. Like we need to figure out something like that because it's an issue.
That CG's thing, no one's bigger than them. They are untouchable. Well, you know.
It's been unacceptable. So we need to do something about that.
I mean, I put a message in that chat room. Is it still happening since I posted
Yes, it
something?
happened yesterday.
Evening.
What was
Hi,
happening?
Casterman.
Cadets wait too long. People that join after get picked before.
What
I
shouldn't it
guess-
be?
I guess I
First
don't
one in
see what
line
you're-
goes first.
I don't really see what you're referring to from yesterday, unless there's this one incident. I guess just let me know or let someone from high command know that
What up, Kryptonian? How you
there
doing,
was
dude?
like 6 FTOs or whatever, and everyone skipped this one person. I see
Yeah,
one
I can
person
do
didn't
that.
get picked up yesterday out of 5. So if that was because people were not active or whatever, they purposely wanted to skip this person, I don't know. Unless there was malice to it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the reasoning is, but whatever it is, we need to figure it out and fix it.
I feel it was a fair
Like I said,
mechanic or something that
I
take it
posted
out
something
on
about it.
DOC, just
If
possibly. That's
you were
very
saying
true
it still
too.
happened yesterday. I see one
But
instance of it, but it
the
seems
crims
like
got to
there was a
remember,
large
like,
gap in time between
did they
this
do
person and the
something
next
criminal?
person.
It should be like the thought process in any crim's head.
Is that what you're
If
talking
they get
about?
caught and they were doing
yeah,
something illegal, you gotta just
It's
accept
about
that,
like a 15-hour
right?
waiting period.
So many criminals they stick on the point of, there's no way you can prove this because I did this. You didn't see this. You didn't see that. But I know I did this crime. Like, if you did the crime,
I mean, I can say
accept
something
it.
again, but
That's it. You
it's
did the fucking
pretty
crime.
obvious. You should probably pick up the first person that's waiting for an FTO in the waiting for FTO channel instead of skipping them.
Did I do an
I don't
illegal?
really
There
know
you
why
go.
that needs
Just think
to
that.
be
Did I do
said.
something illegal?
Like I said, I already
Yes?
mentioned
Okay.
something a couple days ago.
Fuck, you caught me this time. If you didn't, then be
If you see
outraged.
someone
I
doing
didn't
it,
do this shit. I was
guess
just
let
standing here.
one of us
Blah
know
blah
and
blah
we'll
blah.
Talk to them and
Not
be like, hey, why did
not
you
well.
skip
This
that person?
person's wearing a mask too.
Actually,
Well, this
that's fine.
person's wearing this color pants. Well,
It
this
happened.
person's
I
doing
mean,
this.
I
Like, save
watched
that
one
shit for
person,
court.
You know, get an FTO. The next
Let
person,
that shit be in court.
you know,
That should
queued
be
up,
the
and then
court
person
role
after
play.
him got an FTO. And
You
that
just did the
person that
crime.
queued up
You get
waited around
caught.
for
Okay,
a
fuck. I
long
did the
time before
crime.
anyone
Like,
said
let me
anything, man.
let me get my lawyer and figure out how
I
we can
presume it didn't
fucking fight
accident-
this.
as-
You know, put some reasonable doubt in there.
accidental.
That's all you do.
Perhaps, but
Yeah,
unless
sometimes, you know, I'll have someone that reaches out to me and they're like, hey, can you give me a ride along or whatever? And, you know, obviously they're going to post in the waiting for FTO channel, but they're not.
Serede, is that you saying?
They're not
Hey, how are
trying to
you?
get you to skip people, but I can see that being a thing, you know.
yeah, I can
Um,
understand that. Perhaps being skipped over with that. But then my question is, if someone's been waiting 6 hours or whatever, however long we're talking about, someone messaged me after them. Why did they not message in the first case? Or why did they message afterwards and say, "Hey, look, I was first"? I think it plays both ways.
You have done the longest ride
I
successfully
can
down
get
in
definitely
DOC
guilty
and
of
PD to
perhaps
release.
picking up a cadet and not checking that channel. So do that more often.
They went, oh, this person is coming. My day is gonna suck till they leave. So
Yeah,
we don't
I
have to
mean,
blame
like I
all
said,
crims.
the best thing you could do, I guess, is just to look at that channel if you're an FTO and make sure you're not skipping anybody before you pick somebody up. I know that some of these guys will like message an FTO directly, and it's not to, you know, have that FTO skip someone
I
before
bet you
them.
could. Yeah,
but
I've gotten a few lists of people.
It's been happening a few
I've gotten a
times,
few
so
lists of people.
I
I've
said,
reached out
just
when we used to
if you
have
can
a
make us be aware of it. We can
a
tell an
channel in
FTO to just
Discord
pick someone
for
up new
discussing
to go
concerns
back and
or
pick up the
better
person that's been
ideas.
waiting.
Anytime it happened, I'd go in there and be like,
That's
"Hey,
about
can you
it.
refrain
That's
from
all
doing
we
this?"
can
And
do,
it
I
kept
guess.
happening, and I didn't want to single out a person. So every time it happened by the same person, I'd go in there and be like, "Hey, can we stop doing this? Because this keeps happening," and they keep complaining. All right. Anybody else got anything else?
Nope.
All right, so let's try to brainstorm and let's hopefully we can make this quick. This might be a long topic, but brainstorm things that we would do search warrants for.
People.
Like well, you don't do search warrants on for a person.
Oh.
PD weaponry. If there's more out there and we find one.
So
And
bare
anything-
minimum. So the bare minimum that we got a lot of backlash off of was obviously the Fleeka Bank thing and finding blood there.
Are you saying like things like that someone could do that could lead to them being raided, or things that we could be
Ye-
looking for?
Oh.
The
Like-
bare minimum. So a search warrant is to go find a specific item that we believe a person has, right?
Happy 2 months 50 heart.
What is the
Are we-
bare minimum that we are going to want to do that for? Just as a standard, so that there's no confusion anywhere.
Well, the problem is that things change very rapidly in this server. So what
It
we come
does,
up with
which
right
is
now
why-
could it could
Which is why,
dramatically
like,
change in a
I've
month.
we said we're gonna do this like months ago, and it's never been done because I think this is like an impossible thing to set.
The reason it's impossible is because warrants are currently being pushed off. Who cares to do it? Like, we could raid a lot of people for a lot of things every single day, but the effort's just not there. And then someone is willing to put the effort into it, and people are surprised by it, you know?
Hasn't the bare
So-
minimum standard always been probable cause? If there's probable cause that there's weaponry or some illegal
You would think
narcotics
that.
or whatever.
You would think that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
probable cause
so-
is all you would need, but
So instead of setting a standard, I was thinking of a numbered limit per crew, like per month.
What do you mean? Like, oh, how many
Like
times a
this
month we
crew
can meet
is
the same
only able,
crew or
like,
something?
yes, we don't have to say a number because we don't want to give it away, but
you know
like,
what?
what if
My
we
issue with this whole thing is like, it becomes an OOC thing, right? Where we're like, oh, these guys have done some fucked up shit, but OOC, they've been already raided. We gotta move on to a different crew that's RPing, you know, this specific.
I mean,
crime.
the good thing about it is we do have 30 days to hold whatever it is. So I mean, if we already hit our 30-day limit somehow, then we could just fucking throw it into the next month.
Well, see, the
Uh-huh.
problem with that comes in, Andrews, is a lot of groups intermingle so much. They share keys with one another. So it's like one crew has keys to like 3 other crews' house, but
Yeah, which-
some of those
which
crews
is
also have
why-
keys to other people's houses.
Nice,
they
dude.
just so you
Skittles
can't
game.
which is why
really-
the stash house, like, so not stash house, but just raids in general are a joke to begin with. Like the fact that raids are a big deal to me, I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like they're so weak as a counter to, like, I don't know, people having infinite number of houses. I mean, we can go back to when deceased people's houses were used as
Because
stash
Dana,
houses that we would
Danope,
never
that's-
ever
it's not
be able to
possible.
discover,
Like I said,
you know,
raids
who
or
owns-
search warrants are done for looking for
you
an
know what I mean?
item, right?
So the fact that we have to be like,
there's
okay,
literally
well, what's
probable cause everywhere
what's
in
the
the server.
appropriate thing
To
to
set
rate
a
people for?
minimum
I
or a
just don't feel
maximum,
like
it's just
raids
near
are that big of
impossible
a
to
deal
do.
to begin with. To be
The
quite
blood
honest
off
with
of the
you.
fucking the Fleeka is not doesn't trigger a raid. It's
If we
whatever
limited
we're
it
looking
down
for.
to
It.
one
that
group at a
causes the raid.
time. I guess you could what?
So
you
people
know,
are just like, oh, this
get a raid
scenario
for your
triggered a
class
raid.
2
No,
and then
well,
spend the
this
next
item is
28,
this person that we
29 days
suspect
just
having is
doing
illegal.
whatever
We're
you
gonna
want,
go
knowing
looking
you
for
will
this
never be
item.
raided again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, clearinghouse raids don't have that same effect they used to because of all this changing of hands of keys and everything.
Is anyone and I'm not
So
asking
setting
for
a
names or
standard
anything,
of
but has anyone reached
what-
out to you and said that they don't particularly enjoy that part of police RP if it ever comes to it?
What
From
rating?
that point, from a criminal or
side?
from a PD?
From like the criminal perspective even.
Crims reach out to us?
Multiple crims have reached out
Actually,
to me
it
and said they
happens quite a
enjoyed
lot,
the
which
raid.
is-
Oh, man.
They say that
When so if we
God
do it,
damn, Andrews, you
this is
got a
why
big ass
I
head.
said
don't wanna
like
be
set
disrespectful
a.
about it.
Resub.
This is why I said like set a number for a crew. When we do it often to the same crew, then they feel targeted, and they feel like it's unfair when other people are whatever doing the same thing, and we're
I
not
don't
going
even know if
after
it's
them.
the crew, because like,
It's
Like,
it's a
unfair.
specific person.
But
the thing about
I'm not even,
search
I'm not even
warrants-
saying that though. I'm not even saying that because like the crew that I was trying to, I guess, quote unquote, unfairly raid, we're surprised that one, I wasn't raiding them over other stuff, and two, didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, it's just
so
specific.
I don't know
people.
where.
When
you know what I mean? I don't know where it's
when
coming
I
from.
did
And we're
a couple search warrants back then, I got the the message from the person I was doing that it's kind of targeted, which it is a targeted event. It's a search warrant, you know. You're
I feel like the
specifically
SPS ones. I feel like there's like the ones that probably shouldn't be rated. I feel like there's instances of that where someone's just like, "What the fuck? I'm being rated over. This is kind of stupid," you know. Versus
okay,
like,
so
say
are
a
we
group is committing
doing-
actual terrorism? Like,
are we
probably
doing
rated
search
for it.
warrants looking for a specific item, or are we just like, okay, this event occurred, this automatically triggers a raid?
All my warrants have been for a specific item.
I think they wanted us to start searching for specific items. That goes like way back because we were just doing blanket warrants, and then
Other
I could be
warrants.
wrong about this, but I think we were motioned to start looking for specific things in a household.
Okay, so I think that's a better way to go at it. Like, hey, this person possibly has this item. I mean,
agree.
again, it might trigger why aren't you going after this person because he had it too, you saw him with it, blah blah blah. But I think from now on, like, our warrants should be centered around they possibly have this illegal item in their house, and then whatever they have in their house, we take all of it and charge them for them still. Yes, sir.
From coming from the criminal side, I liked raids and warrants like that when there, or how should I say, with investigation. There was one occasion when the Russians got raided on Fudge Lane, when Espinosa actually did the spionage and didn't get a picture of us running into the house with the Class 2, if I remember correctly. And I personally like
It is really low.
I thought it was dark.
Yeah, that was dark. I remember wrong. We actually caught
That was dark, yeah.
But stuff like that is what I like, and you were specifically looking for that Class 2 in that sense, an AP pistol, and got a lot of other things.
I feel like that's fair.
It was for more than that. It was a combination of us seeing you or somebody going with a gun and come out with a gun, and I think there was a lot of shootings going on with the police at the time with the Russians. So it was like it was partnered with that. It wasn't just for that gun. It was with other stuff too.
Yeah, but I feel like at the end of the day, because even like my raid turned into, oh, people are raiding over Tech 9s when it was like, you know, I want to say it was a compound of things throughout the day, but you know, at the end we're getting the raid warrant for something specific, right? Maybe your warrant was different. Mine was we were looking for the Tech 9 because it was just used to like shoot at an officer, right? It was a Class 2 weapon. We knew who shot it, and we also knew that they were using Class 2 weapons throughout the course of the month, you know, because there's a statute of limitations on them using weapons and such. There's a lot we have to go through. I mean, even the raid I wanted to execute, you know, we could only get one person because the second person we didn't have
their SID was scuffed.
Yeah, we didn't have an accurate SID for them because we haven't taken a DNA sample from them in the last 30 days. So the only thing we could do was really raid one person because we knew what their SID was, and that was over, you know, I guess the quote-unquote Tech 9.
Okay, so do you think that should be the standard of our search warrants? Is you have evidence of them having this item still, plus a pretty significant incident occurred involving the item?
I think that's reasonable.
I think catching them running in and out of their houses with Class 2s, I feel like is very fair. Because that's a pretty big fuck up as a crim.
That by itself could trigger that, but if we don't have them running in and out of their house, let's say.
Right. I'm just saying like the bare minimum you were talking about. We see them running in and out of their stash house or house with a Class 2. We should be able to raid off of that.
That's the bare minimum. Okay. So let's say we get video of somebody holding a fucking Class 2 or whatever, and then a gang shootout comes where that person and that gun was possibly involved. Do you think that would be enough to trigger a search warrant?
That's tough, right? Because in the case that they're masked, you probably, you may find DNA and then you know that person had a Class 2. So let's say like Chain Gang gets in a shootout with us and, you know, they leave, but we're able to get DNA material as well as, you know, casings. Does that mean now that I can go bust down like Vinny's door and Randy's door?
So if we get video from like Tinkle ass that, you know, Vinny had a Tech 9, right? He took it out, put it away or whatever. And then we respond to a shooting scene or whatever. And then we have Vinny's DNA and then casings that possibly lead back to a Tech 9. I mean, that's a pretty long investigation to write a search warrant on. I would think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, the only thing I could see is being like, well, the casings that came back to a gun matching this type, I mean, how do you know that came from that gun? You know what I mean? Like, just because DNA is, you know, Vinny's DNA was found at the scene, does that mean that he used that gun? We don't have any proof unless we have like video that he shot that gun, you know?
But that's the beautiful thing about a search warrant. You don't need beyond reasonable doubt. Like you're going into beyond reasonable doubt now.
Right.
That's what the crims want.
I think that's
not how a search warrant is acquired. Like, then,
well,
if that's the case, then we can just go convict them based off of that evidence instead of doing the search warrant RP and going in their house and looking for the gun.
Well, I'm saying we're looking for the gun to convict them, right?
Yeah, we're doing a search warrant for the gun. So if we don't find the gun, then okay, we don't charge you for the gun, but we charge you for anything else. But at least there was this long extensive investigation that led up to it.
I think to an extent, too, the criminals aren't necessarily too upset if they get raided, if there's evidence.
This is
I think
definitely.
there's more
I don't
what
think
Coyle
it
was
needs
talking
Crim
about, which is
Insight.
sort of like
Like
a,
it,
almost like a
I don't
heat
think that needs
system,
Crim
like in
Insight.
GTA with this number of stars. When gangs are really high profile for long periods of time,
Raiding over blood, but that's
rolling
not
in
just
public
raiding
with
over
Class
blood.
2s, doing high profile
You
stuff,
just
I don't
missed the
think
entire
anybody
point.
minds
You
at
just
that
heard
point when
blood,
that kind
and
of
then
heat and a raid
that's
comes.
what you're
I think where a
saying.
little bit of the other
I gave an
argument
example
comes
of
is when people were actually making
if we
somewhat
have
of an
video
effort to lay low
evidence
and
from
made-
somebody,
made a
from a
mistake,
snitch
and all of a sudden the raid's
who
coming, and they're
caught
like,
somebody
"Come on, I
with a
was gonna
gun,
try and right
right?
now."
A class 2 gun.
You know,
and then we have
maybe if we could
a
put
shooting
that
come
similar
out
to our thought process,
where we
kind of
find
like if this
blood
is a
evidence of
trend
person
that they've
that
been,
has
like, on
gun,
a rampage
plus
lately, or
casings
if they
that
were
go
short
back
on the
possibly
gun
to
and
the same gun that the
we
person
just
was
caught them on
caught
a
with.
bad day, you know.
Would that be enough
Sort of
to
like a
do a
heat system
search
or
warrant
something.
off of? I brought all of that to a judge, which
yeah,
it
but
would.
wouldn't that be like the goal
honestly
of
would.
investigation
Less
is to
would
find
be
that one mess up?
would be
That's why
good
you're
for
looking
search
at
warrant,
them,
but
so you can catch them. I mean,
like
how else
I
are you
could
gonna catch them
just the
otherwise if
video
they
could
don't mess
probably
up?
get you a
If
search
you're looking
warrant.
at them for long periods of time and they're pretty solid, and then you finally catch them messing up, I mean, isn't that like jackpot
Yeah,
for an
that's how I got.
investigator?
That's how I got my misfit stuff pushed through, was by waiting for them to slip up.
I understand what you
well,
mean,
their,
but
their
I think
argument
it's
is their argument is
RP
RP.
context.
Their argument though is RP, right? Like they slipped up when they weren't like trying to slip up. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah.
Like they slipped up doing something stupid, and now it turned into serious RP because now they're
Yeah,
being
breed.
raided. And I
I
bet
mean-
that's where a lot of like the ill vibes come from.
At that point, you would just say don't raid off of an SBS incident, which I don't
Right.
think
It's
we
just
really
kind of like
do.
what. Well, that's kind of where we had the problems before, is that we were doing raids off of the
Oh.
SBS incidents. I guess that's just part of
Pretty
like
sure you're
reading the room. Whether this person like was actively doing this thing that they should now be raided for, or if it was like a just a funny thing that was going on. You know what I mean?
Isn't SBS kind of a failure though? What do they mean when PD and Crim's being SBS at the same time?
Oh, sorry, Cat.
Eh, it's okay.
I think it's like say there was like a very serious thing that happened, and we have DNA and casings from that serious
I'm
thing.
just kidding.
And then we catch them with say that gun doing something really dumb. Like do we proceed with the raid?
You hear raids will
Well,
be more
that's
common,
what
but
we
it's
should have
never
done, I
happened
guess, would
because
be the
it's a lot of
question.
work.
With
It's
I don't know,
not
it
like
is
a
observer
Like a
not a snap of a
dojo-
finger.
like
We have a
dojo
warrant.
shootout
Like there's a
we had the other
huge
day
fucking
with
process.
Coyle and myself and a bunch of other people, and Rami had like a heavy pistol, but let's say he took out a Draco.
If all
or
this work
something
doesn't go
instead.
into it, then
probably wouldn't raid
you
off
as the
of something
criminal get all
stupid like
upset
that.
that
Well, if that Draco came back to like a serious situation,
this was a
right?
raid.
Well, if we just ran away, I mean, we wouldn't. I mean, I guess we could, but yeah, they would. That would definitely rustle some feathers.
Because they'd be like, "Oh, we were just trying to be funny, and now their cops want to raid me. Is stupid. Those dumb idiots."
I don't know. I guess I'm a little confused on that. I guess it's kind of if you take this hot gun out and you go and do something SBS with it, surely that's your own choice, and that is where the repercussions come from because you go out and decide to do something stupid. That's when you get caught for it, and
I
then you should
agree.
learn from that.
I feel
Maybe,
like
I don't know.
Maybe I'm being too much of a devil's advocate here. I'm just trying to
So if
to
you-
see where some of
you
the
take the hot
reasoning
gun
is.
out, you do something stupid, you get caught with the gun. You think that should lead
Yeah,
to
I
a
mean
raid?
that's their own fault, right? I mean, it's why is that our
So,
problem? I don't
in that
understand.
in that instance of taking the hot gun out, getting caught with the hot gun, what would we do a raid for?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, I guess what I'm referring to mainly is if they
Sorry, say like a PD weapon was stolen, and this is the gun that
Right.
they used, for example, and now we want to go raid them to find the PD weapon.
But we don't have the PD weapon. So I think
Yeah,
if
like
they
a
shot
big thing
and then
that's
they
been
ran
done in the
away.
past is like we're not doing a search warrant for a specific item. Like because you get
Yeah.
caught with a PD weapon,
No,
what
no.
would we need to
like
do?
they stole PD weapons using this gun that we now found on them off of like a traffic stop that was like full SBS or something, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, of
like
course,
now we're
we'd
like, okay, we
be
know
looking
this
for the-
gun was. Well, we're looking for the PD weapons that they stole, because we know this hot gun was used to shoot cops and steal their weapons with.
I think the issue that's coming up
100%.
is basically people are treating SBS RP versus serious RP, and everyone wants, the expectation is that we consider them like two different universes acting in the same server at the same time. And then some people get very upset when you start crossing the two, when SBS incidences cross over with serious RP incidences, and they're like, well, that was an SBS thing. The expectation right now is that we treat it literally like it's a separate universe. And when we don't, then people get mad, and that's...
I mean, if SBS led to you getting your shit taken, I mean, this is still same outcome. We still got to go get our shit back. We'll just label the search warrant an SBS warrant. I don't know.
I think the example would be like in the instance of like a dojo thing. If they shot that Draco, we picked up the or a PD gun, picked up the casing, we know what it came from. They get away, and then we rated him off that. If he was just like shooting into the air to be funny, and then I'm sure there'd be a lot of hurt feelings off of that.
Sorry, you're saying a PD weapon into the
For
air
instance,
to be funny.
Like during the dojo stuff when Coil and Sizz were fighting each other, and then there was shooting going on.
Why do they have to pull out a PD weapon? Why can't they pull out another weapon? Like, I'm just confused why.
Just because
it
it's
doesn't
more
make
funny.
any sense to me at all.
It doesn't.
Because, like I said, they're considering it an SBS incident.
Because it's SBS, okay? It doesn't have to make sense.
Like,
Yeah,
that's how the server mentality is right now. Is
They
that
come on at
literally
night.
the expectation is that
But why?
when you do SBS RP
How is that
it's
suddenly
separate
become a thing
universe?
that we have two separate universes within SBS and quote unquote
Yeah,
serious
it's-
roleplay?
There's
Doesn't
another
make any
universe.
sense.
No, when you go to bed, there's another universe going on.
This is crazy.
Why
Like, I don't.
can't-
How is this not?
Why can't
This
it
isn't
just
even
be
the problem that
play
we should be
stupid
fixing.
games,
Like,
win stupid prizes? Why can't it just be like that? I don't get it.
Uh,
You walk into a police station and mag dump someone with your Draco for a meme, and then you run off. You should expect something to happen, you know?
yes, I agree
So
with that.
let's go back to like the Buddha situation, right? The issue with his raid was that we had the probable cause, as everyone put it, but he felt that because we raided him over this thing that didn't make any sense at the bank, his whole RP story that he had going on was kind of ruined, or whatever the case was. I don't remember exactly what the wordage on that was, but basically it felt like he was raided over an SBS situation, right? Even though there was probable cause. So I think if we set the bare minimum of no matter what, we're gonna raid people over this and stick to it consistently, hopefully people can understand and like what that is, and regardless of whether or not it was SBS, we're gonna proceed with a raid or bringing them down here and talking to them about this thing that happened, or we're trying to get our weapons back, right? We just have to, I guess, be consistent with it. So if it's PD weapons, we need to make sure we raid people over PD weapons. If it's catching people coming in out of their house with class 2s, we need to raid people over that.
And when he says PD weapons, again, that means that they didn't get caught with a PD weapon, but we think that they have a PD weapon stashed. So don't confuse the two. Just because they get caught with a PD weapon doesn't mean, oh shit, he has another one in there.
And I guess, I don't know, that kind of leaves us with class 2s in general. I think it's a little weird because I feel like, I know it shouldn't be, but I feel like the Dracos and AP pistols are in two separate categories. One you can pretty much get all the time. The other one's a little bit more rare, but they're both in the same category. So I don't want to be rating people over AP pistols if that's kind of stupid. But I feel like something a little bit more heavier should definitely cause some concern,
I think there should be a difference between an automatic pistol and a compact rifle.
I mean, context kind of matters. I think the fact that I think people are dumbing it down the whole raid the other time, when the reason we were looking for it is the other reason is because these weapons haven't been seen in months, and all of a sudden they're starting to pop up again. And there's only been a couple people who have been using it, so that was the big thing. We've never seen a Tech 9 in a long time, and all of a sudden this popped up in a shooting of a cop. So I think that was the other thing that brought a red flag. So I think context really matters too, especially because they threatened the chief's daughter. So of course he's gonna go hard on him.
That scenario was very different. That was storyline driven, and obviously that would be the exception, right? If the story dictates it, then by all means go for it. But I would probably check with the other person before we do it over something so minimal.
Yeah, I mean, the other person wasn't even getting rated for it. We were really rating over the two Dracos as well as the Tech 9, right? And like I said, we had enough probable cause at the end of the day. Like the threats and stuff were part of the escalation, but
you guys are
in
so
the
centered on
context,
the
it's like, if
weapon
these guys
used.
are,
It was a
you know,
story
taking over city
driven
blocks.
A
If
story
they're,
driven
shooting at
raid.
cops
It was
unmasked.
100%
with class
story
2s.
driven.
They're calling up, you know, the chief of police and
Relax,
threatening his
guys.
family. Like, at what point can we raid this person?
This isn't
right?
the
Or
standard. I
these
know
people?
everybody's like, "Hey, you
And if
guys
it's none
just
of the above, then I feel like the raid standards need to be
doing
really
raid
high
as
to the point where like almost no one gets raided.
It was a
or
fucking
they need to be
story-driven
brought
raid,
back down
guys.
to, you know, I guess other people had Dracos throughout the week, which is the other issue is that, oh, these people aren't being rated for the Dracos. How come these guys are? So I guess that's why we're trying to find some foundation for it.
Well, and there's also going to be things like, eventually we're going to come across situations where there's even low-level crime that
Cop
can lead
versus
to a
Crimson
raid.
EU versus NA. It's
For
always a
example, one thing
versus.
I
Yeah.
have been considering raiding this person for because they don't have a weapons license. They had one at one point, and I've now arrested them twice with having firearms that were registered, legal firearms that were registered in their name. So that leads me to believe they bought firearms while they had a weapons license. They got it removed, and they still have legal firearms in their house because they've been arrested with them twice now. I mean, that's a low-level thing, but it's a completely valid reason to raid somebody. We have reason to believe they have a stash of weapons that they accrued when they legally could. Is that something that we should overlook too? Like, is that something that we look down upon?
I think you would probably need to check. I know it sounds silly, but you should probably check with the other person first.
Yeah, I was gonna do it's just slow RP on it, but you know that's a perfectly reasonable reason to raid someone, right?
No, 100%. I mean, you got, like I said, search warrants. We could literally do search warrants all day and never leave Mission Row, just based on the shit that we deal with in the city. But we got to try to find that balance of where we are not doing them every 5 seconds and where it'll be fine if we do them.
Are we really doing them that often though?
We're
I don't
not.
think we do them enough.
And
Really.
that's the problem. That's one of the issues that's been brought up is they're very time consuming. It's a lot of work. And so
I
you just gotta
think
find
that's
that balance.
The main reason they're so inconsistent is because you actually have to have an officer that gives a shit to push shit, and most
And
officers
I don't think
give a shit enough to push
I don't
it.
think people see that. It is a lot of work. They just think that we would just wake up one day and we're just like, we're gonna go raid this motherfucker and just take all the shit. They don't see all of the OC stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's part of the reason that like raids kind of suck. I mean, they suck for the crims to a degree, but they also suck for us to do. Just how many pieces we have to move to actually like effectively like kick on someone's door and just like find like 200 marijuana plants and like 2 gold watches in their stash. It's not really
That's
not really a huge
trafficking.
payout. Well, it is trafficking. You're right.
It's not trafficking. How is that trafficking?
200 marijuana plants? Well, the way
Trafficking isn't weight. It's what the fuck.
Did they rewrite it?
It used to be weight, but not
Yeah, it used to be.
I thought it was movement now.
Yeah, that's what it should always have
is.
been.
Well, it's
Let's be honest, the
cultivate. It's
penal code
cultivation,
currently
but
is
it's not.
literally written like "don't do bad things," and it makes it really hard to really clarify some of those.
All right, so
wait, is this hold on? Is this out of date? Because this just says drug trafficking is having a large quantity of drugs on your person, vehicle, or property.
I think it was
And we must
changed
prove
because
trafficking through evidence and probable cause.
I think it was
Unless this is outdated.
changed. I think it was changed to that because somebody found a shit ton of fucking drugs and the punishment didn't really equal.
Yeah, it was weird.
Gotcha. To sort of Winchester's point, we have people that role play as like, serial killers and murderers, and they're not necessarily running around with class 2s. But I don't feel like they should be off limits when it comes to having probable cause for us to raid them as well. And we have actually raided a few people on the on some of the murder charges that were presented to us over the past few weeks. So I feel like obviously murder is a good reason to raid somebody. See if we can find evidence from the victim or whatever the case is in their apartment that they're probably hiding it.
You could just expand that to any held until trial charge, then, right?
Wouldn't that just be any trial? You'd need the weapon that was used in the crime to convict them of it, right? I mean, that's where it's usually what they're used for. You need to find the.
I mean, if you're just looking for the
Yeah,
weapon, but in the
that's-
cases where we're looking for like the victim's belongings, for instance, you know what I
But
mean?
we wouldn't have to have evidence of that was taken.
Like, you know, we were trying to push one. I don't know if we did one for the Caden stuff because she was missing a bunch of stuff on her, like ID and phone, and you know what I mean. Like, if that gets stolen off the victim's body, is that not enough probable cause for us to say, okay, we believe this guy murdered them? Can we go look in his apartment to see if we can find this person's stuff?
Devil's advocate, we would need a way to prove that they had those items on them. And just saying like, hey, usually people walk around with these items is not really enough to obtain a search warrant for those items.
Gotcha. So like if she
Hard
placed the
because
call,
people can hide fucking AK-47s in their butthole.
What?
What?
I mean, it's. I mean, it's. I don't know,
What?
Things just feel so different. Like we always try to reference real world situations, but it's hard to see somebody with a
Nice
giant
one, dude.
fucking rifle because the AK-47 literally just conceals itself in their pant leg. I don't know. That's just.
I mean, I got
wish
an
we
AR, a
haven't taken
pistol, a
on some of those
taser,
situations,
some
but-
brass knuckles and shit shoved up my ass. So
Yeah.
Oh, I
Anyway,
think you mean
so-
seeing them going in and out. Yeah, I know.
So the murder stuff is more story driven. And I know a lot of the recent murders were kind of like, I didn't expect this person to die. I don't know how we're gonna tackle this honestly without just checking with the other person if they're okay with this.
I just feel like it gets brought to us and they're like, you figure out the standard, and it's really hard because you can't apply it across the board.
You
There's
can't.
all these different outliers with different people. It's impossible, you know.
Correct, because people do different crimes in the city. Like doing a raid off of a Fleeka for the Lean Boys probably isn't right, but the person who does Fleekas every 5 minutes, maybe it's right. So it's not gonna we're not gonna be able to come up with a standard, honestly. I think the best way to tackle this is just reach out to the other person and say, are you okay with this raid?
Yeah, let me just get on the phone real quick. Hey, can you go to my house real quick?
And if they decide to use that information as a means of moving their shit inside the city, then that's a different issue that we have.
Well, what if it's something serious? And I mean, surely there's some things that are a definite raid.
It feels like it takes away from the RP a little bit if you're like.
It does. It is going
you know,
to do
I'm
that.
gonna
but
raid you, and it's like, if they go to their house because they were gonna go there beforehand, is it meta? You know what I mean?
Yeah, then there might be that.
Because it's like I would feel bad for them honestly if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna raid you, and it's like they're put in this weird position where now they know obviously they're gonna be raided, but like, do they like what if they want to move something not because of the raid but because of a different reason? Now I have to be like, well, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
That feels tough.
That's true as well.
And Andrews, how do you feel about warrant roundup raids where we're not searching the house, we're just looking for the people like we did to Eugene? Like say we have a warrant, a bigger warrant that's maybe coming close to expiration. That person's been sighted around the city and we just haven't been able to capture them. And we just go down and roll in their houses and see if they're there. It was fun. They're quick, they're easy, they're way less stressful to deal with.
That's just a regular arrest warrant, so you don't need to obtain a search warrant for a person. Search warrants for evidence, arrest warrants for people. So if we can somehow get permission from I guess the DOJ to make an arrest warrant a no-knock arrest warrant, then
I mean, I had fun with the Eugene one. A lot of people did. And we actually almost captured him. I can't believe we were seconds away from actually capturing him in the house.
Yeah,
But-
that was pretty awesome. That
The
was
way it
fun.
works in
The
real
show of
life,
force
felony
that
warrants
went
you're
on the
able
other
to
night, that
force
was really cool too.
force the
I
door
like shit
in.
like that. Looks cool.
Misdemeanor warrants you're not. Usually it's
Yeah,
depending
the
on
show
how the
of
judge
force
signs it.
was I think fun for all of us. To be honest with you, I didn't know that Buddha was like hiding inside that like
Yeah.
warehouse, like waiting for us to kick down the door.
Yeah, they were ready. They were fucking ready.
So that's fun. Yeah, again, the issue with the raids is just they're kind of sitting here for like 4 to 5 hours, just waiting for your document to be Google signed by somebody.
I think a way we
You
can
have
combat that
388s
is
coming here and
to,
you have to retell them the
if we have a
story,
significant
5 or
arrest
6
warrant
times
with
before
the
they
report
get on
done,
the
we can
same
go to the
page.
DHA and be
I mean,
like,
now
hey,
we
can we make
fast
this
order
warrant?
warrants through the judges, but
Or can you give us
obviously
the
judges
ability
want
to
us
go
come
inside
up
their
with a
house and look for
standard,
this person?
so they feel like we're applying it to everybody.
Because you
Well, we're
don't
talking
need to write a search
about,
warrant for a person.
Doing raids to find specific things, but then what about terms of a class 3, for example?
Mind Killer, thank you so much
I
for the 3
know
months.
the way it was before. If someone
Appreciate
had
it,
an LMG or
dude.
something,
Hello
like,
there.
we're
Hello
not gonna
there.
raid them.
Hello there.
Not to find a specific thing, though. So, and would that still be the case, or what's your thoughts on that? If someone had a
I wasn't even
rocket
listening to him.
launcher or a sniper or any class 3,
What's your probable cause?
Yeah, search warrant means you're searching for something, right?
Yeah, again, because we find an item on a person doesn't mean that just grants us a search warrant. We have to look for a specific item. So if we got wind of or some sort of video proof, you could put your hand down, boss. You could just, say what you gotta say. If you got wind of or video proof of this person having the item, then we can write a search warrant based off of that. But because we arrest somebody and they have that item on it, doesn't mean that they have another one or something else. We had to come up with another version of PC to get into their house.
What if we find a rocket launcher on somebody and we want to take their house to make sure they don't have extra rockets stored away?
Okay, there you go. You're using your brain.
Nice.
So I was just gonna say, I think crimps will enjoy it a lot more if you're gonna make raids more convenient and more common or more, as I say, consistent. That we do things like arrest warrant where we both knock on doors, don't knock on doors. Like as a criminal, that sounds terrifying, but also very fun. And can I do those sort of force things without seizing items? I think
that would be an arrest warrant. So I think we can incorporate the DOJ with this, so the judges, based on the severity of the arrest warrant, we can ask the judge if we can go in their house and look for them. If it's just like a little misdemeanor warrant or whatever, then obviously doesn't in real life grant you the ability to kick in their door. But for serious violent offenses, generally the judge will allow you to go break in shit to go find them. There's usually
I think,
other stipulations like nighttime service, daytime service, shit like that. But
all the hold until trials is a good example, except for the parole violation, obviously. But like possession of explosives, drug trafficking, things of that nature, are good reasons to be raided. Murder. Again, the tough ones are the ones that aren't as obvious, which is like, the class 2s.
If raids don't take,
Because I
but
feel
that's
like
the thing.
realistically,
They just take a long time.
we could probably
to
find enough probable
prepare
cause
and get
to raid
going.
just about everybody in the city if we look hard enough or take enough initiative. And I think that's where some of the issues come from. And it's even tougher, I think, for at least the judges, because I don't feel like they're actively around or aware of everything that's going on. So to them, it may look like we're distributing, justice unevenly, and to some degree we are, because, like Angel said, some people, don't take the initiative as a cop to go after somebody for something they should be rated for, while other cops do. And I bet that creates that bit of discrepancy. I don't know if messaging them is the best solution, because I just feel like that's, now it becomes meta and kinda
They could
fucks
just
with
say no, right? They could be like, no, I don't want to be rated with all my Dracos and Tech 9s. It's going to ruin all my pixels in the server. I'm spent so much
Yeah, I mean,
pixels on
I
that.
say that because it's kind of boiling down to that's our only option of people not freaking out over us rating.
Which
I
sounds
mean,
so
if you're on
lame.
a roleplay server, you should expect consequences to your actions a little bit, right?
But people
Yeah, we're
want
not
it
playing a
done.
script here, we're-
Some
we're
people
improvising,
want it
right?
done when they think it should be done. That's the issue.
According to their script.
Shouldn't you freak
Correct.
out if you're getting raided?
You should, and you should be okay with it if there's probable cause to do so. But you know, the standard keeps getting screamed out. Like there should be a standard. There should be a standard. When like it's impossible to do that.
There is a standard. Improv your way out of it.
Oh.
At least that's how it used to be.
Yeah, I feel like the more we think about it, the more complicated it gets. But at the very bare minimum, we talked about someone walking in and out of their house of class 2s. You know, we're gonna knock down your door. You fucked up. You didn't do the due diligence to
disguise it.
make sure. Yeah, exactly. Like as a crim, I feel like some of these crims are just not. They don't give a fuck anymore. They're just doing stuff in broad daylight. You know, nowadays. And I know it's part of the unmasked season. I'm not talking about that, but just some of them do get pretty sloppy with stuff. So that should for sure be a good reason. You know, we have pictures of you, and that creates some investigational RP for us, which is nice.
He forgot
Did
to
you
eat.
remember to eat your food?
Oh yeah, I just starved to death.
Oh.
Thanks for reminding me. Everybody's eating now.
Jesus. As well as the whole until trials, basic stuff like we catch you with a car full of drugs. You know, we're gonna raid your house because we're gonna think there's more drugs. A car full of guns. You know, we want to break down your doors in case you have more guns. You murdered somebody. I'm sure we can, you know, find some probable cause in that. Explosives. We're gonna make sure you don't have any more explosives. Things of that nature. Honestly, I just feel like we should try to make raids a little bit more fun too. I know, we did the show of force, but I feel like at the same time, if for some reason, you know, this guy, we find someone we want to raid, I don't see any reason why we can't, for example, go down to their property right away with units and like shut their property down while we're waiting for the warrant. You know what I mean?
Can. If we got enough people, please utilize that.
Right.
As
and that's
police,
sort of
you
what I'm
have
saying.
the right to freeze a property, make sure nobody's in it, around it, detain anybody that's involved with it until the search warrant is signed.
Sure. And we can camp outside their house. Maybe we can catch them, you know, thinking that we're already raiding and they might get scared they have some shit. Or they might have someone inside the house that, you know, now we're going to detain as they're walking out because we froze the property. I think we can create some RP out of that. Otherwise, you know, if we don't get a warrant signed, we can just move on and go back to role playing. Because I feel like sometimes I sit down here for like 4 hours just inside of this fucking office
John
waiting
Bonds.
for like the DA or the judge to sign this thing. It's
Nice,
just- it's
dude.
taking
People
away from
using
our RP that could be
Discord
done
on
out
the
there.
back end.
And if we don't get
Spicy.
something signed, then we can just fuck off and leave
Space.
the property.
Yo,
You know,
bro,
and deal with it
we're
from there.
getting raided, bro. Come down here, bro.
Otherwise, I guess people should just be going to
fuck.
command, right, for warrants anyway. And I feel like command should from then point on figure out whether we should raid the person based off of good enough RP or good enough probable cause or not, because it's kind of lame what we're trying to raid them for. You know what I mean?
Yes. Anybody can write a warrant, but command needs to approve it.
I think as long as we streamline raids to be a little more efficient, might want to raid more instead of wait, you know, because it takes 2 to 3 hours to do it usually.
So how do we streamline it already?
I think you guys kind of did. The thing that Mesker showed me, just being able to have that little form, you know, write it up and then send it off to a judge immediately and and get it signed, and to be it. Almost like writing a report.
And I mean, most of the wait
a search
time
warrant.
is like literally waiting. Sadly,
It's not
I'm
beyond
saying why
reasonable
can't
doubt
we
on a
why
trial.
can't we wait at the property, right? I guess
Yeah.
that would
Mhm.
signify that we're already raiding them. But to
So-
be honest with you, we've learned that people most of the time know we're gonna raid them before we even show up at their door.
So 2 things. Are we still contacting the DA to write the warrant?
We don't have to anymore.
Okay. Yes.
I
you know you
did
can
the
write
other
your
night-
own search warrant, right?
So it should
Yes.
be.
Yeah, honestly, we
could-
should be writing our search. We shouldn't be dictating to, or, you know, telling the DA what we did or what we saw or why we need this warrant and then writing it. That just adds an additional person to attack when it goes to court. So you should write your own probable cause and then submit it to the judge.
Well, I mean, I think for some of us, it's probably best if we're not the ones testifying in court because, you know, some judges don't really like us. So,
Well, that should change. If there's probable cause, then there's probable cause. There's no longer going to be.
I use the DA thinking there would be less bias because I got 2 DAs that are backing up my probable cause, but
the
we're also gonna
DA
have a
didn't
conversation.
see what you saw. Like, it's your probable cause of why this should be searched. So you should be writing it.
Hey,
That's
honestly.
true.
You've got a new son.
I should be able
Gamey,
to
thank you so much for the
articulate
prime, dude. I
though,
appreciate it.
to the DA to make him understand. You know, same thing with the judge.
Yeah, but
we
I
can-
mean,
we can
there's 2 routes you can go, but I would highly suggest you just write your own search warrant. Because if I was a defense attorney, I'd attack the fact that you're telling your PC to another party and they're writing your search warrant. That's just
Yeah.
me, chat.
Yeah.
Maybe the way I thought of that.
I don't know. I feel like we've gone over everything we need to, honestly. As
Yeah,
far
to
as
answer your
this
question,
goes.
Angel, it should be better now. If there's PC, then there's PC.
yeah, you would think it would be like that. wouldn't you?
Can you just trust me, woman?
No.
Well,
Who
just
are
trust
you
me.
again?
Just trust me. If there's PC, there's PC.
Okay, all right. I'll trust you in this thing.
So after this, a warrant's not going to get thrown out for being inconsistent.
Nope.
Oh.
That's why it's so. We are gonna have to police ourselves on the inconsistent stuff, and that's gonna be up to like the sergeants to be like, hey, this is probably a different topic, and we should probably talk about this in high command first. But I think we're gonna have to police ourselves on inconsistent stuff.
I think the inconsistency is coming from people that aren't being rated because like no one gives a shit about rating them.
Yeah.
And then the next
That's
batch
true.
of officers come in and they raid somebody over the same exact thing that another group did. And all of a sudden that's somewhere it's like, what the fuck? This guy did the same shit. And now they're rating him, but yet 2 hours ago this guy did this shit and no one cared. Like, I don't know. I don't know. how to
Nilio,
police
it
that,
has. It
to
has.
be honest with you. I guess we'd have to penalize people for not rating people and
I
doing
can't-
their job.
I can't exactly
Yeah,
share
but-
Kinda
how because
silly,
that would give
but,
away where I work,
same time,
unfortunately.
like-
But
the new
it's just
streamlined
it's
rate
very
will help.
prevalent
kind of a
in the
thing.
Bay Area.
The streamlining should kind of help. As I think
course,
a lot of the deterrents on
Me
raids was
touching
the
a bunch
fact
of
that we had to
people and being
spend
in
2 to
close
3
proximity
hours
with people,
waiting,
especially. I mean,
writing
I
back
would
and
think,
forth.
you know, just
And
dealing
now
with
that we
homeless
have
people,
this
because
nice
homeless
little
people
streamlined document that we can just
are
print
just
off and write the
all
probable
over where
cause,
I work, right?
send it off.
I feel like
and
the
then
homeless
bam,
people have like a
we
higher
can
immune
get it
system and
going.
probably don't have it, or
I
they
think that might
probably
help
do
push
have it. It's
more
just not
raids.
attacking
People
them.
won't
But
be as like, oh, I got 3 hours I have to spend now to do this
does
instead
affect
of, you know,
my
1 to
aspect
2
of my work.
hours.
And a lot of cops are
of a
calling
whole
out,
scenario.
rightfully so. I mean,
like there's this
family
thing
first
with,
over anything,
like,
right?
Just raiding somebody's house that's
You get a little scare at
that's
home.
way
It's just
different than,
so
like,
many things that
somebody's
are
stash house, if
just
that makes
play
sense
into effect
too.
of it. So less cops on the street.
I feel like raiding
workload
somebody's
goes
house
up,
like a
stuff like
known
that.
property that we know based off of like their records, I feel like is so insignificant compared to we're trying to go after somebody's stash house, you know.
LEOs have stopped doing
and I feel
the-
like that's
oh,
maybe where
really?
the task force
Yeah, we haven't stopped doing
discrepancy is gonna
that.
come in.
But
where we could have somebody
just
from
like
task force
basic
that may
things
also want to raid a
of
stash house
like
at the same
sanitation
time.
wipes. You know, my department supplies a bunch
Versus
of
us just trying
sanitation
to get
wipes
a
and
warrant
gloves,
signed for this guy's
and
house
they
to see if we
have
can
told
catch him
us like,
slipping,
hey, only
you know,
take
'cause
what
he
you
might have
need for
put
the
something
day.
inside
Because I'm
his
used to
house
like
that's worth value,
grabbing
right?
a Manila
But some
envelope
criminals
and
will
just
still do
filling
that,
it up
or
with
inside their
sanitation
cars,
wipes and
they'll do
filling
that
it
as
up with
well.
gloves and putting it in
And
my
really, when
backpack,
we're
and then I'm
raiding
set for
somebody,
a
we're
little
just trying to
bit.
pull something,
But now they're just like,
you know, off of
they're
their
rationing it out
persons
to
or,
us,
you
and
know,
it's like,
off
oh,
of their
okay.
property that they may slip up.
They're like,
And I
hey,
understand
you know,
there's, like,
we've
this whole
ordered a
stash
huge
house going
batch,
with the
and
warehouses and
our
stuff, which
supplier
is a
has
whole
told
different
us that, you know,
conversation.
we're on short.
But if we're only
short
going
leash
after
right now,
somebody's
it's
house,
like,
we should
okay.
really just be able to get a warrant signed almost instantly to just avoid us waiting.
Then it's
for
their
stuff
fault
when
for the
it comes to
coronavirus. So
houses.
yeah, a lot of people are being
Um,
really fucking racist with it. It is very bad.
So I don't feel like there should
It's
really be
really,
any
really fucking
pushback
bad.
on
It's sad.
stuff like this. If we're just trying to look to raid somebody's personal property, you know,
For
for
the ass per
something
day.
that is quote unquote standard, which is like, hey, we caught you with a class 2, you know, walking in and out of your house or whatever, we're gonna go in your house.
Thank you,
now.
Carl. I try, man. I try. I definitely try.
As far as like the
But
general,
at the end of the
again,
day, I got a
don't know
job
where
to do.
we
If I
fall
gotta
with,
go
like,
hands on,
just
I gotta go
general,
hands on and deal with whatever
like,
later, you know.
like class 2 rifles.
I try to
as
stay
opposed to,
clean.
like,
I
the
wash my
class
hands
2
even more now. I
pistols,
mean,
you know?
before I used to wash
Like,
my
are
hands
we
all
gonna
the
start
time.
rating people over
All the time.
class 2 rifles now because they're being?
I don't know if anybody else is like this,
introduced
but I
slowly,
wash my
or
hands before I
is
use the
that-
bathroom
is
because
that
I'm touching
too much?
myself,
You know,
and then I wash
don't
my
know
hands
where I'm gonna
after.
stand with
Glad
that,
to
for
catch you
instance.
Are
streaming
they
again.
convicted of maybe murder or
Hey,
something like that?
Toe,
We
thanks
know
so
they
much
have
for
the
the 3
gun?
months,
shooting
my
at
dude.
cops.
Appreciate it.
I guess with
I mean,
them.
Isn't that enough probable cause?
Good
I mean,
day,
if they
stocks
have the
go up.
gun, you know they are. And if you want to get a conviction on them, they want to take it to court, you're going to have to get the weapon. That's the evidence.
What's the difference between that and like someone with a class 1 that shoots at a cop? When
I mean,
know
you
that
could
they
do
don't
it
have
off
a
of
gun
that
license.
too, but I mean, it just seems in RP it seems shitty. But I mean, probable cause wise, I mean, if you shot somebody, downed them, and they're now they're going to contest it and say you don't have the gun, then you'd be like, all right, then I'll raid you, get the gun. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, it's shitty, but I mean, how else are you going to get the conviction without the weapon? It's the cornerstone of the evidence needed.
He
for
brings
the
us up another
conviction in
can
the
of
case.
worms.
I mean, most
which
people just
is-
plead guilty anyway, but
It's
if
just
there's
last
a
time.
chance.
Last time we didn't announce it, but last time the state announcement came out for it's criminals are being raided over class 2s. Things didn't really end well for anybody in the city. So that's why I'm trying to like sort of ice skate around that specifically, you know what I mean?
I think as well, being seen with a class 2 doesn't necessarily always mean you should end with a raid. I mean, sometimes you run into people that might not. I mean, you could hold that raid above them and use that to get other information, such as looking for the source of said weapons. The people trying to, sell that kind of shit. I'd say that's
Oh,
more.
You fixed it, Nikes?
God damn, Andrews, you
Yeah,
got a big ass
did.
head.
Apparently. Well, remember the points drop off
Is it
after
now?
21 days?
Yeah, points
Yes.
expire.
Oh, I'm gonna get shot so many times now.
Comrade, thank you so much for the 8 months,
that's
dude.
cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Dundee's
it.
points of fix. That's awesome. But
Tell
yeah,
me
I
the points of fix.
don't know. I just think it would be, we could try and use the fact that we can get search warrants and hang that over people to try and get bigger stuff too. Just wanted to kind of
Yeah.
or try to. I mean, we might not even be successful. A lot of people don't talk and won't talk, and that's for pretty good reason. But you might run into the odd person that might not want to do that, and might give you information to try and go further with something else.
So I guess the lesson here is just A, make sure you're looking for a specific item. B, make sure there's probable cause. And C, let's just try to keep it, I guess, consistent. Let's try to shoot for, how many search warrants do we usually do a day?
0.
Yeah,
they're not very regular right now.
It's like 0.3
Okay, let's
or something
start.
like that.
Let's start this. Let's try to
SWAT
do at
season, baby.
least one search warrant a day.
Oh my god, that sounds like a lot of
We barely do one a week.
I have a response to that though. That I've bhan thinking of. What if I don't know how this would work legally, so you guys will have to. How about we basically tell them and say in investigations, we think you have this. We need to convict you with this. You want to hand it over, get convicted, or get raided.
I try to do that. On Jerry, I've done that multiple times with people where they threaten raids, and I would say, "Look, give up the weapon, and then you won't get raided." And for some reason, most people say no.
And
Most
the
people say no, 'cause they
misconception
think-
is a lot of people think we have loads of fun.
One or
doing
two a
raids,
week
and
seems
we do
better.
occasionally, but they're such a giant pain in the dick to do.
Okay, how about one a week
dig
then?
'em.
Because currently it's
I totally
like
do.
Yeah, I feel
It-
like that's where we're at right now.
That's currently
honestly.
where we're at.
Yeah.
currently it's
Right,
like people get rated off of the whim. Like a good storyline comes out and they're like, "Oh, this is probably raid worthy," and then they do it. I feel like
So,
we
like-
can probably do one or two a week.
I mean,
We're
to be honest with
probably
you,
at one a week. That's where I feel we'll be at.
even with like a class 2 rifle, for example, and I'm kind of treading back to where we were before. Like if we catch somebody with it, obviously we're not raiding them because we have it. But for us to like track somebody to that rifle that we know has it, it takes a lot of investigation work to begin with, right? So I don't
This is
know
what people
the
don't
issue would
see,
be
chat.
with specifically looking for like a certain type of weapon, I guess. And if right now, our up to our discretion, if we feel like Dracos are an issue to us, then we make Dracos like the hot weapon that we're gonna raid people over. You know what I mean? Would criminals have an issue with that? I don't know.
Probably.
Because is that power gaming that we like know that they're out there now, or does it make sense in RP that we do it because hey, where are these guys getting AKs from? I want to see if we can stop the AK connect, right?
Well, we can motivate it. They've been directly connected to power plants, which basically in RP affects the whole city. And as a police force, we have to consider the whole safety of the whole city. There could be someone's life machine turning off because they turned off the power and stuff like that.
Again, that's raiding over an incident occurring. What would we look for raiding?
No. I'm not saying we're raiding over a power plant. I'm saying the
One raid
reason
for
why
tsunami?
vehicles
Fucking
need
like
such
it,
a hot
dude.
gun is because a lot of people that got caught doing power plants are all using Dracos or PD weapons. Like that's our motivation.
Impossible chat.
To find it at a hot gun.
Not enough probable cause there. That's
Yeah.
a reasonable suspicion.
Anyway,
we
so
need more facts. Yeah.
let's do one a week. Let's not try to. I don't think we should concentrate on a specific gun like that.
Can we do limited scope warrants? Like, and I'm not saying like I
No.
proposed earlier, but say we get someone with 2 times felony amount of cocaine. On
No,
them, right?
we're not gonna
They
go
got
into
fucking,
houses and not
41
take everything
bags of
else.
Cocaine on them. Could I raid their government house for it? Like their integrity / pink cage / whatever the hell that West Coast one is, since it's a government-owned building, just to see if they have any
I think
extra
that gets
in there.
I think that gets more complicated. Get a warrant, we can get it for whatever they legally own or see that they have domain and control over.
Yeah, they're just faster, and it's just, hey, we just want to hit your government-owned house because
it's
I don't
not
I haven't
faster,
dealt with
it doesn't make
government-owned
anything
housing
faster.
systems or anything like that, obviously.
Gotta
but
do the same
I
thing.
would assume those would be slightly easier to get since it's government-owned housing.
No, it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same process. It's just less places to search.
I was just trying to think of ways to speed things up and still have some searching so that I don't know, so it's not a giant pain in the dick.
The longest part of it is honestly just obtaining everything.
Getting it. Yeah.
So I mean, after it's done and signed, you just go to all the properties that you know of and hit search. Oh. You know you're gonna do a raid, start typing.
Well, if y'all ever want to have some fun, anytime you capture a high-end criminal, like I did the other day, we caught Buddha and some other thing, and I just got bored while they were processing them, and I spawned a bunch of,
yeah, of course.
black
I did one of
SUVs
the
in
raids on
front with
CG,
their
and it
lights
took.
on.
They just think that they
they
were just sitting in
swarmed
the
the
cells
PD
for
for a
5
good half
hours, and we
hour.
were just out there fucking
After
playing
he was already set up, trying to
pocket pool with
figure
their
out
balls. I was
stuff,
sitting there
that was
typing fucking like 5 different search warrants.
They start.
Laz, what
moving
up,
stuff?
dude? I haven't forgot about you, bro.
I don't.
Takes
Oh, yeah,
3 months, my
cool.
dude.
Had, like Eugene was circling the block for like half an hour. And
Much love, my
he was
dude. I
making
appreciate
phone
you.
calls. People kept driving by and keeping eyes on the SUVs and
Sounds like a good way to catch stash outs.
right.
All right, so search warrant topic is done for now. High Command has a meeting with the DOJ on Sunday, so we'll, I guess, brainstorm with them as well, and then we'll put out whatever announcement if we come up with something different. But let's try to do more of them and just make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Cool. All right, is it time to shoot each other, or we got more stuff?
I think we're good. Anything else that came up?
Bench trials.
Oh yes. All right. So after speaking with Coop, bench trials are only if it's available to do so. Like let's say for a warrant, if the arresting officer or the warrant placer is available. If they are not available, obviously you can't do a bench trial because you don't have any idea of what occurred. So unfortunately for a warrant, if the person that placed the warrant is not available, they're going to have to wait. It is not a violation of due process or any sort of, what was the wording you used? Civil rights?
Civil rights violation.
LOL.
It is not. So,
Yeah, I've
for
been having,
warrants,
like,
majority of the time, it's going to be a no. Can't have a bench trial off of a warrant unless the arresting or the, you're saying arresting officer, but the person that wrote the warrant is available. Same thing for a regular arrest. If like you can't get a judge or like all of the cops are tied up and it's just not feasible, again, unfortunately, it's not available.
Wait, what happened to the... Sorry, Terry, what happened to the thing that we were trying to do the other night? Did you get any word from...
They declared a mistrial on that case, if that's what you're referring to.
Which one? You talking about the second one we brought him in for?
No, I don't know about that one.
Okay, so what I did is I knew we wanted a bench trial, but we were missing a couple of the witnesses. So I motioned for a continuance due to an undue burden on ourselves, because it's not fair for us to have to go up there without critical evidence and critical witnesses to the trial. So I motioned for a continuance, and then for some reason they called it a mistrial. That's not what it is. It's just a continuance. And then he said something about
what is
dropping. So basically,
this was our fight with Jordan Steele that night because we were targeting him.
Is this after the warrant was replaced in the system?
I had to argue this twice with them. So I argued it with Hobbit, and then I argued it with Buck. And Hobbit kind of did it the right way, and then it was a little weird because the way he did the second time is Buck just dismissed all of it and said that we have to refile it on the government website instead. Because I said I motioned for a continuance on it, and they said we had to delete the warrant because Jordan didn't like having a warrant out. So we had to delete the warrant.
What the fuck does that matter? Oh my god, dude! Why is it such a fucking headache? Holy shit!
This one was pretty good because we brought him in. We brought him in.
Holy
on like
shit!
A jewelry store robbery, like trying to convict him of that, and he ended up walking out, and we deleted the warrant, and we had to resubmit it with the DA.
Which I don't think was ever submitted because it was such a smaller type deal. But I didn't want to do a bench trial because I knew he was going to use the bench trial to his advantage because we didn't have 2 out of the 3 key witnesses there. We would just get away because apparently that's all that matters is having everybody there and not just cops, whatever. But I just said, okay, you want to play this game? I'm just going to motion for continuance. And they said, no, this is stupid. Just file it on the government website. Don't put out a warrant for him then. And I just was like, okay. I just said, all right, fine. And then Alex called, I think he called Boba or something and asked him to push a warrant, push a trial for it instead. I think he thought it was too insignificant, or they're working on it or something. We get 30 days. It was just like a obstruction charge. So,
okay, I'm sorry. Time out. The warrant that I had Molten put back in the system, we arrested Jordan on it.
Yes.
And
yes,
he wanted a bench trial, and you took him to the bench trial?
So,
well, we talked to a judge about like it basically.
So what I did on that one is the same one I did with the second one. Is I motioned for a continuance because we didn't have any of the witnesses there, and he said, "Well, this is ridiculous. A judge already dismissed the case or whatever." And I didn't want to argue it because it got a little OC-ish because it was like the way it was done was weird, the original trial. And then he was asking for whether he said with prejudice or whether he said mistrial or dismissed and I just said I want a continuance on this so we can get the witnesses because he refused to pay the fine because he said he was already dismissed of these charges. And he tried to get a bench trial. And he said it's his right to have a bench trial, but I think he's missing some. I think he was trying to fight something where they're missing context. Way different than not being read your rights and them saying something and incriminating themselves versus just like
from now on, and I'll put an announcement out. Bench trials, if they are not feasible to do, they're not available. It's not a violation of any civil rights. They still get their due process. If they want to fight the charges, they can do so on the government website. Our job is not to go on the government website and file for any sort of charges. That's their job.
So in this instance, Soretti was the one that wrote the warrant. He was available. A judge was available. Jordan wanted to go to bench trial, but we didn't have enough key witnesses. They weren't available. Does that make sense?
That makes sense for that charge, but what happened to the one that Moulton wrote?
Same thing. He wanted to argue the charges. He
Was
wanted
Moulton
rated there.
available?
I talked. We talked. Treddy and I talked to Katya about it. I mean, the end resolution for that one is the first trial was actually declared a mistrial, so I need to get the DA to refile that, basically, or I could just put out the warrant again for a third time.
Yeah, I just told Moulton to
Holy
save it,
shit, dude.
and we'll deal with it because he was refusing. He doesn't want a warrant out for his arrest because apparently
Then AJ sent him when Moulton and
that
judges.
you're looked at differently.
Violation of rights
You have
was
a
when
warrant.
AJ sent him when Moulton and
And he
judges
refused
were
to pay it
available.
or
Moulton
whatever,
was
and the
not
judge
available.
said,
Moulton
okay,
was doing something.
Gonna get a continuance and it'll be
Again,
filed,
it's not a violation of
with a
civil
regular
rights.
case
Like
instead, but they were
bench
waiting
trials.
to find out
If you say no
it was
bench trial is
with
not a violation of
prejudice or
rights, your
not,
due
so he had to
process
talk
is
to
still there.
Kyle
You're still able to go
find
to
out if
court.
he was
Hey,
dismissing it
went
with
to
prejudice
court.
or not, regardless of how weird the actual decision in that case was.
He could have been held till trial. Why though?
She was
The charges
confused on
didn't
how to
dictate
deal with
that.
it, so she just said, you know what, we got to talk to Coyote, so we're just gonna hold off on this because he went to bench trial for it.
I guess that's another thing we'll clear up on Sunday. But again, bench trials aren't feasible. They aren't available. Let's not misuse that because you don't want to do it. If you are available and it's feasible to do, do it. But if there's literally like 13 witnesses and none of them are available, then obviously it's not feasible because it's just going to be your word versus his. And then most likely it's going to get thrown out because the judge doesn't trust your word.
But they should probably just like increase fines and just like make times like not really relevant, honestly, with the way things are going. Like people aren't really going to bench trials or trials to like fight time because by the time that they get to the trial, like
They
they
just
probably
get time
served their
served.
sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time they're fighting the charges on the record or the fines, which I feel like is, you know, I think it's worth for us to like try to hit somebody really hard with fines, and it may be worth for them to try to like actually go to a legit court to fight.
Give him the option to wait, but that still doesn't violate his rights, though.
'Cause for us,
It's
like
not
time
a
is
violation
irrelevant.
of
It's really
rights.
weird too.
Like
They'll
if
be
we
like,
told
"We're
him,
gonna
hey,
send
you're not
you
gonna get a
up
chance to
there
go to court
for
on this.
80
Fuck you,
months
dude.
and
See you
just come
later,
right
and
out."
just sent him off. Then
You know,
fine.
now you have a trial. pending,
Violation
you
of
know,
his
you
due
serve your
process.
time,
You ain't getting
and
his
the
day in
fee's, like,
court.
really low. It's
Fine.
like $1,000,
That's not the
you know,
case. Like you have
dollars.
two options
There's
there.
this
One wasn't
whole ordeal
available. The
about it.
second is they
It's pretty
literally
crazy. It's
went
just, like,
to court.
Just up the fines really fucking far, and then people will start to really think about, like, you know,
Has nothing to do with Penta, guys.
doing
Don't
crime, I
fucking
guess.
say, hey, hi, Penta's chat.
Well, that's kinda
Penta and
why
I
I
are
never got
fucking
paid
cool as
on
shit. We're actually supposed to play games
Gary,
tonight.
'cause what's the point
I
of
love the
paying the
dude.
guy
No,
for doing
it's
a
not
trial when there's only like
anything with
$1,200 on the
Penta.
line?
It's just like the decision making and like the thought process on some of the decisions by the DOJ and why things get done.
well, maybe we'll talk about it on Sunday or whatever. Okay. I think that
It has
was
nothing to do with
probably-
Penta. It is literally, and I said this the last time, and people
I
on
think
Reddit took
we
this
spent
out
a
of
couple hours
context.
here, probably
It is
should
Jordan being
actually
Jordan.
doing
I
some,
expect
some training
Jordan
here.
to fight it this way, but I expect the DOJ
Nice.
to see through it and be like, "Oh no,
we have
dude,
enough
okay,
for like full crims and
nah, dude,
like
that's not
4
how it
crims
works."
and 10 cops, so just perfect. We can actually do some stuff. I know Polito has been like.
I've
big
got
one
the whole story,
recently,
dude.
but that usually
Don't
ends in
worry.
a chase, right?
Don't
We had a
worry.
pretty interesting.
I got the whole story
situation
from.
with the Playboy Mansion. We had a shootout there the other night.
That's why I was telling
That was a really
Angel
good spot
not
for the
to worry
for the
if there's
crims to hold.
PC. There's
I don't know
PC.
how many people have actually had
I
a
got the
shootout
whole
there
story
before.
on this, and it was just a fucking
Or
headache.
any
and
crims here have had a
it's dealt
shootout
with.
there.
Well, why don't?
But this
we
has
train
nothing to
on,
do
like,
with Penta. I have
driving?
nothing against Penta. I actually
don't know
spoke
how
to
to
Penta
drive.
and said, "Hey, we're refiling this." He knows
True.
about everything.
Did we not train on that last time?
This is how I
No, we
expect.
did
I
big
expect
checks
Jordan to use whatever tactic in
Oh,
in
training academy. We did that.
in fucking court.
Well, those are
I
cadets,
fully
they're
expect
not
that. That is
criminal guys
Penta playing the character well and using whatever
As opposed to our
he has
officers?
coming to him or has at his
I mean,
at his
you know,
disposal
I'm
to
just saying,
use.
I've seen some better driving.
Problem
from
is,
years that I have from
like when the
driving, so-
DOJ are just like, yeah,
swear to
okay, that
God.
makes sense.
I
Let's
mean,
throw this
I'm not
case out, and
saying
it's like,
that.
huh?
I mean,
Does that make
like,
any
you know,
sense,
it's like a
dude?
little Oracle or something, you know?
This is a smart dude. That's
Do you
why I
mean
love him.
Is it just pursuits as a
And
whole?
it's
or
fine.
Do you mean just in particular the driving, or is it the
Pursuits,
communications? Or
like communication as the whole, like a lot of people, basically anytime we get in a pursuit, people just follow in a straight line. No one tries to parallel. They just follow them and then caught where they're going, and then they do something, and then we lose them. Because no one tries to like flank around, or like they go to a common jump spot, and no one like goes to that jump spot where it comes out and stuff like that, you know?
okay, I got you.
I think what I see is people unnecessarily.
Yeah,
trying to
storyline's
throw
perfect, dude. I love the
themselves over
storyline.
signs, driving the
I love it.
sidewalk.
I mean, that's how Penta
When they
is.
really
You give
can
him
go
any
right
shitty
for it.
situation, he'll make the best out of it. Not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people just complain and just like fucking
Yeah, we got to factor in
curl
things
up into a
like
ball and not
cars,
want to play
you know,
anymore.
popping
No, of
and
course,
loads of
literally
weird shit
give the
and,
man
you know.
fucking the most horrible
Oh,
situation
sure. So
and
do you
it'll make
want to
it
run like
entertaining as fuck.
driving into like either VCB or crash and criminals ditch and use crack?
Sure. And then I guess they could turn into shit out, I guess, if you want.
Offensive
Sure.
driving too.
We can do some circle landing. Obviously, it's pretty much what.
But nobody on NA is
anyway.
trying to take
Found a
the
new
cop
meta
party
the other
seriously.
day
Too much
that got used
FPS.
against
She just
us,
gets so much
shooting
crap
our
compared
tires
to
from a
thinking it's
car.
just- Yeah,
It's always
it's
been an
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's always
It
been
is.
an
It is very
Oh man, we
unfortunate.
had like
And
I had
there's
my
nothing
tire
that
like
we
every
can.
time as soon as I caught up to
There's
the
nothing
chase,
that we
boom,
can really
tire
do.
blown.
Because if the cops
It's not
become more
there's only
serious
one
during that
engine.
hour,
If
then
the
it's
engine
just
would
like,
have
oh, the
any
cops are
pistol,
just
it's
being
the car dies.
unsponged, blah 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 blah.
Jesus.
So it's more
If we've been in any
easier
kind of
just
accident.
to
Yeah, Winchester.
accept it.
Have you shot at any gas tanks
and
recently?
accept it. If you deviate from that, then
No.
just
I
be
try- you
prepared
should
for the
try
Hardly
it.
ever
assault.
discharge my firearm.
Well, maybe if you did, you wouldn't be wearing that Bane mask.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, take that to radio.
Oh,
Nice.
my
Come on,
God.
bud. Nice.
Well, that had
It's
to
nice
happen.
knowing you, Winchester. It was
Okay,
really good to have you back.
Angie, you want to take like 3 other guys with you for
What
your
the fuck?
for your
Get him
Russian hard base drive
we're
around
gonna
the
be
city
Russian?
arcade?
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I was trying.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
I can play.
I wanna be with you, Angel. Can I
That
be with
mechanic
you?
is completely
Alright, who's coming
On
with
base
me?
shit. I'll come
Yeah,
with you.
me.
I think he's gonna kill you. I think you're
No,
gonna
no,
kill
actually,
you.
actually have the
Normal
cadets.
landing.
No, the
But I want
cadets
the
actually have to
Russian
stay here because they need to.
Cadets.
Okay,
They
Sharp.
need
To
to drive.
learn. The whole point is to learn.
Sharp.
Okay.
What about offensive driving too?
Columbo.
Have my gun
What's
back.
up? What, doing pits
Take
and
take,
stuff?
Ripley?
take good drivers with you.
So we can
Oh,
stop
good drivers?
people
Okay,
from having 2-hour chases
what?
anymore.
If we're just doing good
Oh,
drivers,
God.
there's only like 2 people.
I
I
need to
can
dump
think that in
Sharp.
this case, you know,
All
probably,
right,
like,
whatever.
I'm here.
Sharp jump.
Okay, Ripley, Columbo, and
Can I get my gun back?
Your gun back?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Oh
What
my
happened?
God.
My camera's up my
I don't
ass
know.
right
5-0
now.
gun.
What are you trying to do right now, Angel?
I'm trying
Take
to
one-
decide
one more
between
time,
you
sorry.
and Winchester,
The 5-0
so-
gun.
What?
It's
the
Oh,
fuck?
God.
You
Drive
and me?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're
Kidding me?
they're
You're
pretty
choosing
much in the
between
same
me and
class, to be
Winchester,
honest.
and I'm not
I
even in
choose
the
no.
choice
I choose
between me
no.
and.
Alright,
You
here we
are
go.
unfucking
Really?
unbelievable.
Oh,
No,
that's fine.
actually, I gotta talk to you, Winchester, about a
He gets
driver's
way
certification.
different
Is he doing
You
it?
actually mean the coils gun?
No, it's the 5-0 gun.
I'm trying to fuck with. I'm trying to fuck
Wait,
with.
what?
I was making. a
Is
joke
it
about
named
trying to
that?
get the Mustang.
No, can you actually name it that for me? Can you make one like
No.
slightly stronger and then just call it the 5-0 gun?
You're absolutely fucked.
Why?
I'll see what I can do.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. 5-0 gun is coming. Hell yeah. Just like slightly strong. It doesn't have to be like extra strong. Just like 1% more strong.
Drive cadets and officers, they'll be doing comms.
Can I have one? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
What was broken with the MDT about evidence? Something. I didn't catch
Let's
that.
let's hold off on talking about it because we're supposed to have a meeting with command, and we're supposed to give you guys a whole bunch of like feedback on all the MDT stuff.
Oh
so
my
I don't want
God.
to just give you like bits and pieces of things. You
Oh,
know, it's just
hey,
not-
what's
it's not really gonna
what's
help
going
you.
on? Who the fuck are they?
Really quick.